Yeah!
It's Josh Williams here, and welcome to another bonus episode of the One Man Podcast, guys, brought to you by Absolute Comedy, of course. And today I'm very excited. I actually get to sit down with a good friend of mine who I haven't seen or spent time with in a very, very long time. He's originally from London, Ontario, tours all over North America performing stand-up. He was even the host of his own late-night talk show in London called, London Tonight with Jeff Leeson. My buddy Jeff Leeson is here.
Hey, man.
How are you, buddy?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Not too shabby. So, Jeff,
great intro, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's fantastic.
I never know how to do them. I didn't write anything down for this interview either.
And yet you looked at the table the whole time as if you were
I'm used
reading.
to them to be. I'm used to them being in front of me. So it's almost like maybe if I look down, there'll be
If
some
I wasn't
structure.
sitting right here, I would have thought you read that whole thing off of the table.
Nope. I'm just good at bullshitting.
No.
Great
well,
off the
well
top of my
done,
head. Thanks, man.
That was some top-notch bullshit.
So welcome to the podcast. I know that you're not at Absolute this week. Usually I get a chance to sit down with the guys who are at Absolute for the week, but this week you're just for one show tonight, which by the time people hear this, it's going to come out on Friday.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
it's over. It was great.
Yeah.
What a show that was. Oh, my God.
Yeah, we can tell them some of the
Can
highlights.
you believe
they
that?
missed.
What happened? My God. I've never seen someone do that at a live show before.
They already know.
That's why you always have to go. I mean, it was probably in the paper Thursday. It was in the paper Thursday. Yesterday.
Was it? Yesterday.
Did you read about it?
Dude, that's the hardest thing. Every week I record my podcast on Tuesday, and I'll talk about things that are like going to happen after the podcast, but they're listening to it on Wednesday.
Right.
So they're like, oh, wait, what? Yeah.
Right.
So I have to keep track of my timelines. I feel like it's a really bad.
Well, not in this
Doctor Who
episode because 2 days ago, the greatest event in the history of live entertainment happened in Ottawa. As we
now
all
I
know.
really hope something crazy does happen so that all of this is
Yeah,
accurate.
I hope I'm not jinxing myself here and
Right?
some guy's gonna
Well,
attack me.
normally we have the
Oh,
guests
can I
come
swear?
and do.
I just swore.
Yeah, you can.
You
Of course
don't
you
care?
can. No, I
Okay.
don't give a shit.
Good.
Dude, the things I've said on this podcast.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I haven't been. I haven't had my not my Me Too moment, but I guess that's what I call it when people start losing their jobs.
Did you lose your job from this?
No.
From this podcast?
I could lose listenership, I guess.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
But all I know
that's
is
fair.
All I know is that people
Have you ever had somebody write to you and say, "How dare
Yes.
you"? Really?
Yes, only once, and a lot of my listeners backed me on that. But
Man or a woman?
if you were in Vegas and you had to bet red or black,
I would honestly bet on a woman.
there you
And
go.
an older woman.
And no, okay. So if you had to do two,
Oh,
see, that's where you start going with the numbers. You can bet red or black.
right.
You go safe, you're 50-50 chance, but then you're like a
Yeah.
woman. An older, no, now you're playing numbers and you're
Yeah.
you're
Although,
chopping
yeah, I guess the younger generation, I guess, is probably the most offended now, right?
yeah. And
That's
you know
like
what?
their thing.
It actually wasn't fair of me to be like, well, if you had to guess, but I think because you know what, all of my most supportive listeners are all women too.
Right.
So
Yeah, they are. They're very well. Like I don't have podcasts, but I know that if women, as in a comedy,
Right.
if a woman really likes your show, she'll tell you more than a guy. But if she doesn't, she'll also tell you
Right.
usually more than a guy, and in a much different way. It's a thought out. Here's why I didn't like this, and here are the reasons. And it's like, right, a guy will just go, "You suck."
yeah, exactly. They basically will write a book report on a comedy act.
Right? Yeah,
They're like,
exactly.
here's
Which
what
I
I
kind of
thought
like.
and why.
I don't mind that.
I would love that. Even if it was negative or positive feedback. If I got an email after every set from people who'd seen it, oh, I would kill for that.
Yeah, if you could
That would be
learn something
amazing.
and change something and be like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay."
It's like, you
I never even
suck.
thought
I'm
of it.
like, so kill myself? Is what you're
Right?
saying?
Yeah,
Is that your
you suck.
feedback?
You should stop doing this. Like, well, no. Why don't you change this thing and you'll be fine?
Yeah.
I would love that. That'd be great. We should try.
Maybe we'll have that figured out
fill
by
out
the
a
end of the
questionnaire.
podcast. Yeah, exactly.
At the end. All right, everybody.
Well, we usually
before
have we usually have the guests episode on Friday, so they have an opportunity to come see all weekend at Absolute. You know, but then again, people tune in 6 months later, and it's way too late, anyways. The point
right.
is that you're here now.
And I'll be back. That's the.
When do you come back?
I don't know.
Okay,
Who knows?
That's true. Well,
I will be back at some point. I'll make it a mission to get back to Ottawa.
just for the 12 listeners in this city that
That's
that
right.
wanna
And
come see
hopefully
you.
they come and write to me after and
you-
tell me exactly what they liked or did not like.
Do you know what's great? I have 3 friends, super close friends, all live in London, Ontario.
Oh, man. Thank God that wasn't...
super
I
regular.
thought you were about to just say, you know what's great? I have 3 friends.
I have 3 friends. I have 3 friends. Doesn't that sound like a kid at the dinner table? Guys,
Yeah.
guess what? I have 3 friends.
I have 3 friends.
I have 3 friends now.
Good for you, Jimmy.
Yeah.
School was good. Yeah, I have 3 friends.
I have 3 friends. Yesterday I had 2 friends. Today I have 3 friends.
My buddy's daughter is her birthday was on the weekend, and she goes Jeff, guess what? And I go, what? She goes, I'm 4. That was her whole
Yep.
That was her whole thing. You know, and I died laughing because I was like, yeah, we did as adults we don't ever. I would never go.
Just
Hey,
state
Josh,
random
guess what,
things
man?
to it.
33.
33.
That's it.
Really good
That's
for
all I
you.
want to tell you.
I didn't know that though.
That I was 33.
I thought you were older than me.
How old are you?
35.
Oh, really? Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought you were younger than. I thought I was older than you as
Yeah.
well.
You're taller,
I am taller.
so you
yeah.
win that race.
Thanks, man.
Age is not a race I ever want to win. Guess what? I'm closer to death than you.
Yeah.
Not that we all hit like,
I'm closer to the ceiling than you.
yep, the glass ceiling. No. Of being a white cisgen male. Wow. No. So yeah, I got three friends in London, Ontario, who are regular listeners of the podcast. So
Oh, very cool.
yeah, is there anywhere that comedy's being done in London right now?
Yeah. Well, there's Yuck Yucks
In London, Ontario?
in London. Yeah.
Really?
Yep.
I thought they closed down.
They did for a while.
Okay.
They've closed over the last, like, I don't know, 10, 15 years. They've closed 2 locations and moved 3 times.
Okay.
So now it's actually really nice. It's in the Western Fairgrounds by the casino. So it's like a really nice. I think the Western Fair owns it.
Okay.
And so they just did it up like really nice. Only problem is that a lot of times they give free tickets to people who lost all their money at the casino.
So they're in
you
a
get a lot of
bad
angry.
mood.
Yeah, you get a lot of. I've only been there a couple times because I don't work for them obviously. So I've been to see like buddies, and it's also like $25 or something like that to go see a show.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's $23.50, and then plus tax or whatever, it comes out to like 25 a person. Like
Yeah, that's a pricey night out.
Yeah, but that's the thing is a lot of their tickets are giveaways. So I don't know how many people are paying the legit $25, but
Yeah. Who's in town? Donnie Coy. Wow.
right, yeah. I'm not gonna name names, but I saw a show there, and thank God the headliner was great. Headliner was Brian Hatt.
Okay.
And he was fantastic. But the rest of the show was not $25.
No.
I would have been angry if I was.
What do you think
seriously-
I'd know who the other acts were?
Yeah, you'd know all of them.
Oh, really?
Um,
That's hilarious.
No, you wouldn't know the host. You wouldn't. I didn't. To be honest, they were amateur. It was 3 amateur comedians from Toronto. One was hosting, which, as you know, is like brutal.
Right.
And he had no control over the crowd, so it was a very rocky start.
Especially if they're already pissed off and whatnot. You got to really be ready to keep their attention.
Yeah, and I mean it was a pretty packed, like it pretty packed room. Again, I don't know how many of the people paid to get in, but I know that the table right in front of ours definitely paid to get in because there was a guy just getting angrier and angrier. And I mean, Brian saved the whole show. I think they would have had people complaining after, to be honest, if he didn't do
had he
so
not
great.
headline, yeah, Brian's great.
Yeah, and so I mean, it was just like the host I had never met. One of them I knew, but I also knew where in where her
Where he
career
was in the
was.
pecking order. Okay.
And then the other guy was like a guest set, which is fair, 5 to 7 minute guest set, and he probably had the set of the night
Out of the other 3?
out of the other 3 by a slim margin. Got them like at the end. I think he had a pretty good closer.
Yeah.
And then yeah, but I mean, it was the host because he had to keep coming back. And
when they don't like you, that's the worst.
hated him.
That's the worst. If you're like, well, I got to go back out there and try to get.
The guy in front of the table, like the table right in front of the guy on the end, when the third time he came back out when he was about to introduce Brian, he comes back out and the guy goes and just throws his hands up in the air. So mad.
So I asked this of all of my guests. Is what I mean? It's the classic question we get asked. But what got you started into comedy? Now you started in London, Ontario.
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So what were you doing beforehand, and what got you into comedy?
So I started comedy when I was 14 years old.
Really?
And what started it was when I was in public school or elementary school, whatever. Mm-hmm. I would watch Just for Laughs and Comedy at Club 54 every day after school. They were on back to back, like 3:30 and 4, whatever. And so every single day I would watch comedy. I was just like fascinated with the fact that these guys were on television just telling jokes. It was like mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
And so I was a quiet kid. Like I was pretty shy and like reserved, and I didn't cause problems. I wasn't a class clown. I wasn't an asshole. I wasn't like the kid always in trouble for, you know how Jim Carrey and who is it? Jim Carrey and Howie Mandel, they talk about their teacher that let them do stand up at the end of the, at the end of the week. They were like, oh, Jamie Foxx.
Okay.
Yeah, they had teachers in elementary school that were like, if you shut up all week, I'll let you do, 10 minutes on Friday, and you can just go nuts and just work on your stuff, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't that kid. I was quiet, but every year we had to make like a presentation, like you had to do a speech about whatever you wanted, and book reports and stuff. I would always choose the oral presentation over the written portion,
Right.
if you had a choice, and I would always just like make people laugh. It was just like, it sort of came naturally to me, I guess. My whole family was funny, so I guess that's where I got it from. And so it just came naturally. And the feeling of that laughter was like, whoa, this is like, I love this. But then I would be super quiet. All my report cards say, Jeff doesn't say a word until he has to, and then he's hilarious. Like my mom saved all these things, and if you skim through, it's like, we didn't even know he was in this class until we had to do the Kill a Mockingbird report or whatever. So anyway, so because of those speeches alone, I was voted valedictorian of my grade 8 class. Not academically, just from being able to give a good speech. You get voted in by your peers, like by all the kids. And then I did the speech, and I wrote like some roasty type things of the teachers, and did a whole thing about us going to high school and what that's going to look like. It was kind of stand-up-y.
Right.
Crushed, and got a standing ovation. And remember, like I was standing on that stage looking as people started to stand up, being like, what the fuck are they doing? Why are you standing?
Yeah.
And then, but that wave of
like the energy.
That just hit me so hard. And I was like, okay, whatever that is, I don't know what that was, but I have to feel that every day for forever.
Yeah.
Because that's like a drug. And not knowing what that even meant. And then realizing at watching Just for Laughs and Comedy Club 54, being like, hey, they seem to be getting what I'm looking for, which is feedback, applause, laughter from the crowd and whatever. So at 14, I said to my mom, I was like, I think I want to pursue comedy. And thankfully, she was like, okay, well, how do you do that? Thinking at the time, he's a teenager and this is a phase.
Right.
And he's going to just try this and be like, oh, that was whatever. And so I said, so I researched it somehow. I don't know how I found out, but I found out you do 5 minutes, and that we had a Yuck Yucks in London. And my mom, when I was 14, my mom's like, you are not doing Yuck Yucks, because she had been to a Yuck Yucks show. She had seen how, crazy it can get. Like she went to like a late show Saturday or whatever.
Right.
And just the comic was getting heckled, and she's like, I can't let you do that. She goes, but if you want to do stand up, let's put on a show. Let's invite friends, family. I played hockey at the time. So let's invite your hockey team, their parents, all that kind of stuff. Wow. Let's throw a show. If you can handle that, then we can talk about going forward. So my very first time on stage, I did 30 minutes of whatever the material was about family and friends and whatever, in front of friends and family. And then,
do you remember how many people were there?
I would say there's probably about 35, maybe 40 people. We did it at my mom's work in the auditorium at her place of business. And
that's pretty cool. She actually got you a venue.
Yeah, she did. She got me a venue, probably half the crowd.
I figured your backyard like the poor man's wedding.
No,
you know what I mean?
And it was like set up honestly it was almost like an HBO special where I was like, I was in an office in a dressing room or whatever, and then there was, I forget I think it was just me that year. I think the only thing people came for was me.
Okay.
And I thought I was going to talk for an hour. I was certain that I had a 60-minute show. Mm-hmm. And it was 30. And it was 30 with stretching. Like with like sort of crowd work. There was like a kid there that I did something with, and it was very, but it wasn't great, but it was good enough, and was that feeling that I was looking for enough to be like, okay, I got to do that again. And over the next couple years till I was 16, me and some buddies that were in a band, we threw these things called music and laughs, and they would do music and I would do comedy, and we would switch who was going on last or who was headlining, whatever you want to call it, the show. Right. And so we did a bunch of those, and then when I was 16, finally, my mom, after the final music and laugh show, I had a heckler, and I just destroyed this heckler, and my mom's like, okay, you can do Yuck Yucks. So I did it for the first time when I was 16.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And the first time you did Yucks, did you have a bunch of friends turn out as well, or?
The first time, no, because
we burned through our friends and family early on.
Very early. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Something in the music and laughs, they were probably like, we've seen them.
Yeah, they were the Yuck Yucks thing. Most of them would have gone, but it was a school night.
Oh, okay.
And 16, I mean, you're a teenager, so you're like not. But it was like an 8:30 show and over by 10 o'clock or whatever. So a lot of the parents, had to go with the kids because they're 16, too young to get in unless they have a parent.
Right.
So they were very much like not allowed to go. Like I don't think any of my actual friends were there. 2 parents went, and my whole family was there. My mom, my grandma, I think my great grandparents went to the very, very first show. I wore a suit with no dress shirt, no tie. It was like one of those silky shirts. Like I looked like a junior mob boss. I looked like the executive assistant to the head of the mob who's like wanted to be him one day. I slicked my hair back. I wanted to look older too. I was trying because I knew, and I was easily like 20 years younger than everyone on the show. Minimum.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
There weren't any like 20-year-olds doing, wow.
No. And, here's another thing this is how I got this. Okay. So I find out Yuck Yucks does an amateur night, and they do it on Wednesday nights, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday were their pro shows. And so I called up, and they booked me on a Wednesday night for an amateur night. Excuse me. And on the Tuesday, the night before that the thing's supposed to happen, they call my house phone, and they say that because I was the only person who signed up, because at that time I was the only person I think in London who even was trying to do stand up or whatever. There maybe been one other guy that came along later or whatever, but anyway, so I was the only person who signed up for this amateur night. So they call on Tuesday and they're like, we're really sorry, but we can't have you on the show because you're the only one, and we can't do a show with just you. Yeah. And I was just crushed. It was like somebody told me, you have your own show and we're going to pay you $1 million. Yeah. And then they call back and we're like, nah.
The network's been canceled.
Yeah. So it was like that. Like, that's how I looked at it. I was devastated. I'm 16. So I go upstairs and I'm like, Mom, I can't go. She's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I can't, they're canceling it. She's like, hold on. She leaves. Okay. She goes into her room. She comes back 10 minutes later. She goes, okay, you're on Thursday. You're opening the pro show. You got you, like, she didn't say guest spot. She wouldn't know what that meant, but she was like,
I put you on the show.
You're doing it on Thursday. And I'm like, how did you do that? And she was like, I don't even remember what she said. Like, don't worry about it, or just, I called them. I worked it out. You're on Thursday. Get ready. It's 5 minutes or whatever. So the first time I ever did Yuck Yucks was a pro show. And I was the opener of the show.
So how'd you do?
I still have it. I still have it on VHS. And I watched it not too long ago. It was okay. It was enough to
make you keep going.
I got heckled pretty early on by this girl, who not a bad heck. It was like you're sexy or like whatever, something weird like that.
Something yelled at this 16-year-old.
yeah. It was, but she was young too. She was probably 21 at the time, maybe. So, and I looked when I was 16, looked maybe 18 or 19. So, I mean, she maybe, you know what I mean? She probably thought
that's still hot. If you had closed that'd be a really impressive story.
Oh, it would have been amazing, especially with my whole family there.
Yeah,
imagine. Yeah, my great grandparents are there.
Sorry, Mom, I don't need to ride home in the minivan.
Grandpapa, appreciate you coming out. I'm gonna grab the bus with this young lady or old lady compared to me, I guess.
Grab the bus.
Yeah,
she's 21. She's probably driving.
She was probably driving. Yeah, I certainly was not yet. But yeah, man. So I did okay. I mean, it was enough to like keep me going. It was enough to be like, again, that feeling. It was all about that feeling. I got that rush, that drug adrenaline rush that you get, and was just like, I have to do this. I have to do this as many times as possible. Problem was, in London, they canceled amateur night completely, and so I would go a lot to Hamilton and Niagara Falls, a little bit in Toronto, but Toronto club was super hard to get on.
Yeah.
You know how I got on it? Finally, I would call in every week. They had that call in, try to get on thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would call in every week. They would never call back. And I thought, it's probably because I'm in London. I'm giving them a 519 area code. Like, why would they have, tons of people in Toronto, I'm sure. So one time we went to Toronto to watch a show at the Laugh Resort, I think.
Okay.
And then my mom and I went to Yuck Yucks, and it happened to be open mic or amateur night. And there was the list. And my mom said, just go ask them if you can go on. Just tell them you're here. Say you've been calling. And I'm freaked out. I'm like, I don't think that's how it works. Like, they're not going to like that at all. And she's like, well, you're here. How often are you in Toronto? Just go and ask if you can go on the fucking show.
Yeah.
And so I did. And it was Ron Jossel.
Okay.
I walked in this green room. It was Ron Jossel. Who else was in this? It was like an all-star lineup now.
Right.
Of guys. Like,
but they were all up and comers at the time?
Yeah. I mean, they weren't amateurs. They were probably guys that were working their clubs, maybe opening though, or emceeing, but probably not headline. Maybe Ron was headlining at the time, because I think it was around the time of his Comedy Now.
Okay.
And basically everybody that was in that room, I started seeing them on TV within 2 years of meeting them in that room. I was like, what the hell? That was the guy that was on the show. Or some of them I knew already from, like, a couple of them had been on comedy at Club 54. There's a couple like older guys in there as well that I was like, holy shit. I think Glenn Foster actually might have been
one of the guys there.
Or no, he was in London. He was one of the guys. Anyway, so I went up and I was like, hey guys, I'm really sorry to bother you, but is there somebody I could talk to about possibly getting on the show? And they all looked at me like, what the hell? And I think out of sheer curiosity of like, let's see what this kid can do. Because I was, again, 20 years probably, or at least 15 years younger than everybody else in the room.
Right.
So I'm like, they're like, yeah, I guess. And they go ask whoever the manager was at the time. And they're like, ask Ron. Ron Joss, I think, was hosting. And I think he said, like, go ask Ron if he's cool with it. And they had a dropout. They go, so, well, as luck would have it, somebody didn't show up. And I think the deal was if they do, you're off. But if they don't, then you're on or something. So
I see.
I sat there for a few and they're like, he's not coming. So go ahead. So I did it.
Wow.
Yeah.
How was that?
Bombed really hard.
Yeah.
Super hard. Yeah. Yeah. That was
well, when you're dealing
with
a show with monster after monster on it, it's hard to hold your own in comparison with the other acts.
It was also a very limited crowd. There was probably 12, maybe 15 people in the crowd.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's
it was a
also
Wednesday
tougher.
night. It was a Wednesday night, and it was weird because the headline, like whatever show we were at, was packed. Maybe it wasn't a comedy club. Maybe it was like a Second City or something. But anyway, that was packed. We went over. So it was kind of the first time that I saw this like really small audience too, because most of the other shows I had done were at least sort of half full. Like the club was like at minimum half full, and people were there to support these people. It wasn't like everybody was crushing and I bombed. It was like everybody was semi-struggling, but good enough to hold their own, and I just didn't have it yet. So I just ate shit.
And it's funny too, like a lot of people think that, like it's so funny. To me, I would rather perform in front of 10,000 people than 7. Do you know what I mean? Like the idea of performing for nobody is infinitely more terrifying to me than like, we got 10,000 people out in this arena.
Right.
All right, let me at them. Like at least that energy can come from that big crowd. But that energy that we're looking from, it's like 6 people spread out. You're like, oh, this is a nightmare.
Right.
I would
An
rather,
absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
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 However, I would rather do 6 people super into a show than 10,000 people who don't want to be there.
Yeah, but I can't imagine getting 10,000 people into a place who just don't want to be there.
But
They would revolt
if you
against
were,
the person who made
opening
them
for
keep
a
it there.
band, you know how have you ever heard these old school stories?
That aren't there for you.
They're not there for even comedy. They're like there for something else.
Yeah, you learn early in your career. Like, it's so funny the amount of amateurs. Like, someone will post on a comedy group and be like, "Hey, we got this big charity night. We're gonna have some bands. We need a comedian to go on in between the band. Who wants it?" And all these amateurs are like, "I'll do it." And I'm like,
Right.
yeah, that'll probably be the last time you do that.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you're gonna make comedy look bad, because how do you follow music? You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, there's the energy that comes from music is so much, and then, oh, hey guys, what's the deal with
Right. And it went from lively.
Yeah, and their
to
energy's high. And you're like,
silent.
I can't. What the fuck is this?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's
Right.
it's basically like at the end of a concert when they just turn on lights and everything, and you know,
One of the
the roadies are louder on stage talking to each other than
Totally, man.
Then
And
you go,
people are at the
"Hey,
back.
everybody,
Everybody's
who's having a good
conversations are
time?"
exposed
Right.
too. It's like that music comes to a head, and then you
the
hear
needle scratch.
So I didn't mean to cheat on my wife. Whoa, what happened?
Yeah.
Here?
I still
but you
haven't
know,
found the body.
I did a when I was 16, 17, there was two open mics in London that were open to anything. You could do music, poetry, magic, whatever you wanted. And I signed up for them all the time, and it was just me and a bunch of musicians.
Yeah.
And it was so awkward, so uncomfortable, but probably where I learned the most about being comfortable with silence in a room.
Yeah.
And being like, all right, well, I'm just going to say these words and figure out how to spew this off, and then I'll get out of here, and we'll bring up this next guy.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like the Pai Mei 2-inch punch or whatever. You're
What?
like, from Kill Bill. You know the one where she's stuck in a box and she has to learn how to punch when the board's 2 inches ahead? So it's like you learn the chops. You learn how to be comfortable in an uncomfortable environment. Learn how to work and get the job done in bad conditions.
I totally understand the metaphor or the whatever you call it. I've never seen Kill
metaphor?
Bill.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there's a whole part of the thing where he's trying to teach her how to punch through a board, but like basically her hand's touching the end, so she has to like punch like that.
Right.
Yeah, and she like
That hurt, right?
bleeds up. Well, that's the whole. That's the whole point, though.
Right.
Is that as she's practicing and she's busting her knuckles up and they're bleeding and everything like that, and then later on in the movie, she's in a position where she needs exactly that, and it makes perfect sense. I won't ruin it. Great movies, by the way. If you like anything by Tarantino,
I've heard that I have had. Okay. Something you probably don't know about me, because I keep it hidden as long as I can.
you don't like good movies.
It's not that I don't even like them. It's just I always am the guy who has never seen them.
Okay.
So people will do a reference from them, as just happened.
Right.
And I'll sometimes I'll laugh a lot. If we were in a group right now,
Because you're like, what the fuck
I'd be
are
like,
you talking
yeah,
about?
right, yeah, buddy, I know exactly, but I wouldn't have any clue. But all the time I'm in situations with people that are like, you know, the thing from whatever. I was just with Nick Burton last night, and he mentioned like a Star Wars reference.
From which Star Wars, though?
One of the new ones.
Yeah, see, I get it. That
And
I,
I
get.
was
I haven't
like-
seen all of them.
Yeah. I mean, I saw the old ones when I was a kid, but even if he referenced something from them that wasn't like something everybody would know, I would never get it. But he was like, you know, it was like, he
Really?
looks like, yeah.
Is it that you don't see movies, or is it you don't get references? Because even apparently, if you've seen the movie and you forget them,
No, it's totally about the references. It's not about the movies. Because
so okay. Then here's the thing: when I was in my 20s, there was a shitload. I think I had like a 1 year period where I watched a shitload of action movies and horror movies, and just all these movies that were super classic that I'd never seen growing up. Because I was raised a single mom.
right. Oh, me
And,
too.
yeah, so we didn't watch the action shit because my mom didn't give a fuck about that.
Right.
Right. I mean, I knew Steel Magnolias and Forrest Gump and all that stuff.
Right.
But we never watched any action movies. So, like, I'll just as an example, like the Aliens movies, Die Hard movies,
Yeah.
Lethal Weapons,
Yeah.
Beverly Hills Cop. I'm trying to think of some of the other action ones. Like, I knew Terminator was way too big to never see.
I've never seen it.
You're full of shit.
No, I've never
You've
seen it.
never seen one of the most iconic movies of all
I've
time.
never seen Terminator or any
Yeah,
of
I
them.
would imagine you wouldn't start with the third one. So, okay.
I didn't start with any
So,
of them.
so how many uncles molested you when you were a kid to put
I
you
don't
in
have
this
any
box?
uncles either.
Because they were all murdered after that. I think you repress too much.
I don't have any uncles that I know about. All right. Whatever they did, I was too
Maybe
young
that's
to remember.
the thing. Maybe that's what happens to most of us. We get touched by our uncles, and then we watch movies to forget. And you're like, no, I had a good life.
I had a great. I was
I'm out selling lemonade at a stand in my childhood.
I get shit for this all the time, man. I get.
So then, what do you watch in your spare time? I mean, I know that as a comic, you don't have a lot of spare time. A lot of us are doing things all the time, but there's got to be. What did you watch growing up then?
Oh man,
because you already referenced
really
the Just for
want me
Laughs in the Club at 54, and I get that. I watched the same shit.
Seinfeld was my favorite show of all time. You know what I really liked in high school?
What's that?
I don't know how many people I've even told this to. Friends. I was a huge Friends fan.
Okay.
I just loved that show. In high school. You know
It's
what?
very popular.
I probably would still watch it now. Like I could probably easily turn it on and just get into an episode, but I haven't tried that for a while because I don't want to ruin it. I don't want to.
Have you ever watched movies that you watched as a kid as an adult and gone, "Oh, this is garbage"?
Yeah, Home Alone.
The first or second one?
Or
both?
It was the second one that I saw recently.
Not as good.
And not that it's because it's still hilarious that this kid is beating up these guys or whatever, but just some of the acting in it, I didn't realize as a kid was like, oh man, that guy is shit.
Yeah, Macaulay Culkin's a pretty pathetic actor when you look at some of the movies he did as a kid. Like he just say something and wander off.
And Richie Rich was another movie that I loved that I have not seen that as an adult, but I'm sure that there's some pretty weird shit in Richie Rich as well.
Well, it's funny. Like I said, that one year that I was watching all these movies I'd never seen and was like, oh, I got to check these out. They're way too iconic, right? Like there's still movies I haven't seen. I've never seen Grease. I fell asleep during Dirty Dancing.
I've seen Grease and Grease too.
Yeah, the one with who was in the second one?
Michelle
Pfeiffer. That's the one. But the guy was some no name, right?
Yeah, the guy was. I don't even know who he is or was.
So I went back and I watched. So I watched all the Aliens movies. I watched the Predator.
Right.
I watched all these different action ones. Like I watched all the Die Hards.
Oh, okay.
So, and some of them, I got to say, some of them I watched and I go, oh, I get why this movie was popular. And then some of them I watched and I went, nah, I guess it was one of those ones that was good at the time. Like I even rewatched the Ninja Turtles movies when I was in my 20s. And the first one, still good now.
Is that Secret of the Ooze?
No, that's the second one.
That's the second one.
That is the hackiest shit. The second one is garbage now. If you watch it.
Oh, damn.
It's so hacky.
I used to love that
hacky.
movie.
Well, the first Gremlins movie was supposed to be a horror.
Oh, never seen Gremlins either.
You've never seen? Yeah, you must have. Not even parts of it? You know what Gizmo is, right?
I know
who
what
he
Gizmo
is.
Yeah.
You know that Howie Mandel did the voice of Gizmo?
No, I did not know
Yeah.
that.
So Howie Mandel
really?
was the voice of Howie Mandel was the voice of Gizmo.
Are the Gremlins the ones that get crazy after midnight or something?
Okay, so here's how it works. They are the little furry things. Gizmo is what's called a mogwai.
Okay.
That's what he's called. And they have these rules. One of them is don't expose them to bright light because bright light kills them.
Right.
Don't get them wet, and don't feed them after midnight. And that's the rules.
And
so here's what happens. Bright light, sunlight kills them. So bright light, they hate bright light, sunlight kills them.
Okay.
So they're vampire-esque in that regard.
Okay.
You get them wet and they multiply. So it's like they start, their backs bubble and balls pop out of them like popcorn and then grow and become not necessarily duplicates, but just more. They're not identical twins or anything. They have different characteristics, but you get them wet, they multiply.
Wow.
And that's whether they're mogwais or gremlins. The gremlins are ones that are like green and scaly and scary looking.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
So they're like cute little gizmos. You get them wet, they turn into more little gizmos. But once you feed them after midnight, they go into these cocoons and then they hatch as the gremlins, the green scaly things,
and then
whatever.
They try to kill you?
Well, they're more of like mischievous. They're almost like, they're like drunk 16-year-old males.
Oh,
they just trash shit and start fucking around and start
do
trying
they
to
ever
shoot you
go
with nail
back?
guns and
Is there
stuff.
a way to get them back to?
No, you kill them with bright light.
Oh, they die the same way.
You kill them with bright light. Yeah, all of them in both their forms is the same. Bright light kills them.
Right.
Don't get them wet, they multiply. I guess if you feed once they're a
gremlin,
gremlin, they're a gremlin. You
Right.
you can't feed them again and he turns back into a mogwai. But the idea is when they turn to gremlins, they also hate Gizmo, and he's the source of all of them because it's always him that has them multiply off of them. Right. So someone spills a glass of water on him or something and he sort of has like a seizure and they pop out of his back. And then there's a little furry ones. Everything thinks they're cute or whatever, but then they get wet. Like there's a scene in the first one, spoiler alert from the 80s. But for you who've never seen the movie, there's a scene at the end where, they end up getting a bunch of them. And then the last one, Stripe, plugs his nose and jumps into a pool and fucking multiplies like insane.
Oh God.
Right. And I can't remember how they end up. I think they stick them in a movie theater because they're goofy, like they're goofy, mischievous. So get them all to a movie theater to watch fucking cartoons on the movies or whatever. And they're all wicked into it. And then they like drop the fucking screen and the sunlight kills them all or whatever.
Oh, wow.
Most of them except for Stripe. And then Stripe gets killed his own way later.
What about Gizmo? Does he die?
No, Gizmo's fine.
Gizmo's
You
good.
can't kill Gizmo. Gizmo's not a bad one.
Right.
You know? That when they're regular Mogwais too, they're like goofy and silly, but they look cute. And then they turn to gremlins and they're
But
just
if you
complete
fed
assholes
Gizmo
with like
after midnight,
yeah, he'd
would
turn
he-
into one. Absolutely.
Wow.
Yeah. That's the simple 3 rules. That's
What a
why
movie.
that's why there's so many comics who make the fucking joke, oh, don't feed them after midnight. Because basically the idea is feeding them after midnight makes them get even worse.
Right.
There was there was a sequel done to it. But here, the idea was in the first one, they tried to make it like a horror movie. There were scary moments of it, but at the same time, it's also like Jim Henson-esque, like scary puppets doing
Right.
things. So the second one, they made it much more of a comedy. They tried to make
okay.
it silly. Well, this very long story leading to that's kind of what happened with the Ninja Turtles. The first movie was like very dark and actiony, and then Secret of the Ooze, they tried to make it more funny and more silly, and it lost a lot of the intensity and the
What's the one with Super Shredder?
second one.
That's
Secret of the Ooze. But just the very end of the
Which
movie.
was professional wrestler Kevin Nash.
Was
by
it?
the way. Yeah. You a wrestling fan?
I know who that is.
Okay.
I'm underwhelmed by the piece of trivia. Kevin Nash played Super Shredder?
I don't have much trivia. There's not very many things where people, especially about movies, as you can clearly tell. But if
Did you see Pulp Fiction?
recently, actually?
Okay.
And it was phenomenal.
Right?
Loved it.
And was your first time ever seeing it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So did that get you excited about maybe going back and seeing some other movies that you've missed?
Yeah. And it's not even that I'm against watching them or that I think I wouldn't like them. It's just I was very into comedies as a kid and then
Okay.
in high school. Like Ace Ventura is
So
my
that you
favorite
did
movie.
you did not see that. You saw that
yeah.
one. You've
And
seen Dumb and Dumber.
I've seen
The Mask,
every
all that
probably
shit.
classic comedy. If it was a comedy,
Right.
and it came out in the 90s or even late 80s and 2000s, I've probably seen it. And some that aren't even like, why would you ever see that?
I didn't see Uncle Buck until probably like the last 5 years.
Okay, yeah. See,
And I wasn't overly impressed with it when I saw it. I love John Candy.
Right.
So you had seen Ghostbusters as a kid, right?
Ghostbusters, yeah, like the I probably saw, how many did they do? 2?
2.
So I've definitely seen the first one. The second one I'm not sure on, but I've definitely
Where they
seen
make the
first
Statue of Liberty walk through the city or whatever?
one. Is that number 1?
That's the second one.
That's the second one?
Yeah.
Oh, I probably haven't seen that one then.
Really?
Yeah.
Those are comedies.
Wait. Do they make the Puff Man?
That's the first one.
Oh, okay. Well, I've seen Puff Man.
Yeah, Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
What about do they get fired?
I don't know. They get in trouble both movies.
Right.
They get in trouble in the first movie, they're going after Zool, where the apartment building's haunted.
Yeah.
And they gotta go, gatekeeper and keymaster.
Right. Right.
They make all that shit happen in the first one. The second one, there's a haunted picture in a gallery.
Oh, the picture, the gallery.
Yeah.
Oh, so I
That's
have
the second
seen
one.
it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I have definitely seen that then.
Yeah. And those scared the shit out of me as a kid. They were comedies, but they were scary.
Right.
Like I remember those dogs in the first one, right? When they break out of the statues and the dog thing. Dude, you have a horrible memory. You cannot,
yeah.
you can't say, oh, it's the references.
No. No, not on that one.
Ghostbusters is crazy iconic.
No, I've seen the Ghostbusters. It's just
once 30 years ago.
that's what I mean.
That was the first movie I ever saw
one
in theaters.
time
Apparently,
30 years ago.
it came out the year I was born, and my parents took me to the theater. Apparently, I was running up and down they were the only ones in the theater.
83? We born in 83?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that it came out in 83, and my parents took me to it like in North Bay, and there was no one else during the day in the theater.
North
So I was
Bay?
like I was running around the theater, whatever.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they blast on the proton packs, with very, very cool special effects for the 80s.
Oh, yeah.
Blast on the proton packs. Apparently I would stop and like stare at the screen when that was happening. And then it got chatty again. I'd start running up and down the aisles again.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Big played a big part in your life.
It hurts me. I can't tell you how much that you haven't seen it or don't remember. No.
I have seen it, but I don't remember the dogs from the statues. But I definitely remember that picture.
It's like a relationship argument. I was listening. I just don't remember what you said, honey.
Yeah, it's like
I was
because
there.
I think I'm one of those people that I would have to see a movie multiple times for references specifically.
I would definitely
think.
agree with that now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I like how you're like, I think it's the reference.
Like Ace Ventura, I could do both movies. I could do front to back, probably no problem. But I've just seen them so many times. See, that I get.
Yes. I'm trying to think what other ones I'm trying to think of the comedies back then. I know there was a lot of John Hughes stuff, 16 Candles, Breakfast Club. See, I haven't seen Breakfast Club. I know parts of it and I know the references.
Is that the one where they're all in detention?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here's the thing too, is I was like late to the party on a lot of really big, like Goodfellas. Have you seen Goodfellas? Martin Scorsese gangster movie?
No, I have not seen the
That's one of the best.
but I've seen the full movie.
Okay.
But I've seen the like funny how like
Yeah.
that, those scenes.
Oh, you
like,
have
few
to
of the
see.
scenes.
You have to see the whole movie, and they're one of the most iconic movies of all time. Like, did you ever?
You
watch,
don't know how many times I've had these.
Did you ever watch Animaniacs?
People?
Well, shut them up and see the movies.
I don't have fucking time to watch all these
Yeah, you
movies. I don't, man.
You start taking Kanga Ride in between cities, and then you can sit there on your phone and watch a movie.
What is Kanga Ride?
So it's like a ride sharing thing. So think of Uber, except it's in between cities. So when you're going to Toronto, instead of you driving, you pay like $30 and you catch a ride with someone else, and they drive you to Toronto.
But then what do I do once I'm in Toronto?
Well, you either take the metro or you take Ubers.
Oh my God. I'd much rather drive. I love being in a car.
Well, you get to be in a car in both of those other scenarios I suggested.
I'd like my own car. Do you have to share it with other people?
Maybe.
Maybe. See, I can't do that.
Why not? If you get a nice pair of headphones and you download the movies, you get to catch up socially. And then when you get there, everyone's not yelling at you because you've sheltered yourself from seeing movies. You've never seen Terminator. You haven't seen Goodfellas.
I know.
I'm trying to pick one that the ladies would want me to be like, well, those aren't the only ones. You haven't seen Terms of Endearment?
No, I haven't.
Have.
No,
you
I
haven't. There you go.
But I have seen a lot of romantic comedies. I like them.
I believe it.
Yeah.
Dude, I've seen a lot of them too. What's your favorite rom-com?
Oh, tough one. I really like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
I haven't seen that one. Kate Hudson pisses me off.
Does she? I think you'd like her in this. She's pretty
I
likable.
think you'd like her in this.
She's pretty likable.
No,
she does torment him for the sake of the bet that they make in the movie.
Yeah.
But like when she's her normal self in the movie, she's really cool. The character, at least. And Matthew McConaughey is wicked. I love that guy.
Oh, buddy.
He's like the coolest guy ever. You're angry.
Did you know his?
now.
No,
I didn't mean to make you angry
I'm
by
not
this.
angry.
I try not to let these fucking movie
try not to tell
topics
people?
come up. Yeah, I try to keep everybody off.
Do you
that
like
topic.
movies or like? Listen, can we not talk about it?
I should have sent a
worst,
contract before this. Stay away from these
Yeah,
topics.
don't talk about movies. I don't even know what I made a small little Kill Bill reference.
I know.
About being uncomfortable in a situation.
I know. I hate
And
it.
now
Happens
we're-
all the time.
That's
All
fucking
the time.
hilarious.
And you know what's interesting is usually even if I haven't seen the movie, like if somebody says I'll be back, I obviously know that's from Terminator, or if somebody's talking about something, usually I'll know like the main references from a movie,
Right.
so that I don't look like an idiot who hasn't seen
Yeah,
the
but it's
movie.
because people have said what they're from.
Exactly.
Like, did you ever watch Animaniacs when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah, that was
Yakko,
was that the-
Wacko, and Dot.
One of them was a girl, right? They're like a sister.
Yes. So is this one of those, just enough? One of them's a girl, right?
No, I used to watch Animania. Was it on with like? Because I watched Goofy. What was that?
Have you heard of Mickey Mouse? Is that a thing that you're not quite familiar with? Is that the one with the Goofy? That's a character out of a group. That's,
No, not Animaniacs, but Goofy
Animaniacs was
had
Warner
Goof
Brothers.
Troop. You remember Goof Troop?
Yeah, Goof Troop and DuckTales and all
Yeah,
that stuff.
DuckTales. Like I watched all those when I was young.
But Animaniacs was not, because Animaniacs was Warner Brothers. And what would happen is Animaniacs, I think they had
Didn't they used to
Tiny
come out
Toons.
of the tower?
There's Tiny Toons. Yes, they would come out
They
of
would
the Warner
bust
Brothers
open
tower.
Yeah. See? There you
Okay.
go.
Well, that's unfortunately that's not
Give me
the,
something I can work with.
that's not the part of the show that I need you to remember, right?
Fuck.
But there
Which
was
I think is the intro.
there
of
was
the
do
show.
you remember the pigeons? On the show there was a bunch of pigeons. No. They would fight with each other all the time
Yeah.
and argue, and the pigeons were called good feathers.
Oh.
And one of them would always be like, "Oh, you're this. What do you mean I'm this? Well, you like this. What do you mean how? How am I like?" And they were basically recreating that scene from Goodfellas.
Oh, good
Almost
feathers.
every single time that they were on, they would have that moment where they were doing. But it was called Good Feathers, and it was like 3 up to no good pigeons or whatever.
Interesting.
But since you didn't remember the Animaniacs reference either, I couldn't say, hey, look, here's a piece of pop culture that was in
Listen,
your face.
I'll give you that I should
What's your
know
favorite
Terminator.
movie? What's your favorite movie?
Ace Ventura, Pet Detective.
That's it. Of
That's
all
my
time.
favorite of all time.
Saw a
Man.
movie, 1991, and you're like, you just dropped the mic.
That was it.
That's
that did it for me.
I don't need to ever
Every
see
movie ever has
I don't
been
need
compared to that.
really.
Yeah, man.
It's like, what did you think of Child's Play? You're like, there wasn't a missing dolphin in that one.
No, there wasn't. Dan Marino didn't make an
Did you
appearance.
ever see Child's Play?
Don't even know what that is. No.
Really? Chucky, the
Sounds-
killer doll.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I never saw any of the Chucky stuff. I know who Chucky is though.
What was the last movie you saw? I don't know if my listeners are as engaged in this as I am, but I'm so invested in finding out how do you live a life with no movies.
The last.
Is that what watching Frasier or Seinfeld? Poor, I can't blame Frasier for that. Seinfeld.
Frasier
and Friends.
I watched a lot of. I know a
Did
lot
you?
of Frasier. Oh yeah.
Okay, that's one of my favorite shows.
Dr. Martin Crane. He's not a doctor. Dr. Fraser Crane. Martin Crane is the dad.
Yeah, he's dead. John Mahoney is dead.
Sorry, that's not funny. It's just
He's fat, dead. You're like you're so confident, and then you have to like backpedal. Dr. Martin Crane. Sorry, he's not a doctor. He's fat. I mean, he's dead. He's dead.
He's dead. He's the dad. He's the dead dad. He was the dad.
He's the dad. Now he's dead. But I just read the other day, I can't remember where, but it was one of those like IMDb or something that Kelsey Grammer is looking at rebooting Frasier.
Oh yeah. Oh, I heard that. Yeah, I read that too.
So,
See, I get that reference too.
so I'm sorry. What was the last movie you saw?
Oh, the last movie I saw. The last.
That long, huh?
No. It was actually like 2 weekends ago. We were watching. We didn't finish it. I started watching Age of Adeline.
What? What's that?
Blake Lively.
Okay.
All right.
I know who that is.
Yeah. Blake Lively. She's I only got halfway through and then I had to leave for a show, but it was.
Your pre-show ritual.
it was,
What's on in the romantic documentary subtitle
no.
section
My
of Netflix?
girlfriend wanted to watch. We were watching a bunch of movies. We were watching a bunch of movies that were.
I don't believe you've ever watched a bunch of movies in your life.
but they were. What else did we watch? I forget what else we watched though. Age of Adeline was the last one. Oh, Dodgeball. We watched Dodgeball, which I have seen before.
You need to stop. You have so many good movies you can watch. You're watching the same fucking Ben Stiller shit over and over and over again. You're like, is there anything?
It was really good, man.
You have trust issues with movies. You're like, you know what? I trust this movie. I've seen it.
I know.
And then all the new ones, you're like, I can't remember anything. Well, it's one of the movies we watched. I don't
I
remember.
think that's it. I think I have a fear of change. I don't like change.
We're getting Frasier here. We're doing psychology stuff here.
Yeah, that's right.
We're figuring out.
I mean, this is very Frasier-like, this setup here with the
Go
mic
ahead,
and
caller. I'm listening.
See? Now that I love. I get that. I know
Yeah.
exactly what that's from.
Roz, who do we have on line one?
Oh, man. I always thought Roz
Super
was
hot.
In, like, not right away because she wore those weird, like, pantsuits, in the early episodes.
Did she?
Yeah. But later on, she gets very hot.
I've always loved women with like that whiskey voice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
the raspiness or whatever.
With the like smoker's cough voice.
Yeah, I guess. Not with the cough.
Frasier,
though.
line one. There's a lady.
Well, Frasier. She sounded like more of a man than Kelsey Grammer.
Oh man,
Perry-
I used to love Niles as well. He just his prim and properness and like complete sort of arrogance was just it was awesome.
Well, they did. I was watching like the bonus features. They used to have all the DVD sets of Frasier, one of my favorite shows of all time. And on Frasier, like they were talking about how like they broke so many rules of like sitcoms and just like writing for that show in the sense that they were like, you can't have two main characters that are brothers that have the same job.
Right.
They're like they have to be something different. They can't both be psychiatrists or whatever, and brothers and this and that. And, and the father can't live with the son. And it's like, they just kept doing all these things that like, they won't work. And it made it like, it was like one of the most successful TV shows.
And a spin-off. Like it's
Cheers,
probably
yeah.
the most, is it the most successful spin-off of any show ever? Must be
It
up there.
might be. I know that Happy Days has the record for the most spinoffs because Happy
Right.
Days had Joni Loves Chachi. I think they had the Jeffersons.
Oh,
or maybe that was off of Archie Bunker, All in the Family. I think the Jeffersons were off of All in the Family. But Happy Days spinoff was Joni Loves Chachi. Mork and Mindy is a spinoff of Happy Days.
Right.
And I think there's a bunch of some. So Happy Days has the most spinoffs, and I think Frasier is the most successful spinoff.
Yeah,
because it had like 11 seasons or whatever.
So smart. It was such a smart
That's
show.
what I liked about them. And Cheers was the same thing, because what I liked about those shows was that the formula was going to be the same. Frasier would hear something and misunderstand and then let the cat out of the bag on something.
Right.
But I really liked it for the one-liners. I really liked the wit and how well crafted the wording was of all the jokes, right? Like there was an episode where Frasier said to Niles, he's like, Niles, I'd shave my head for you. And he goes, a gesture that becomes less relevant with each passing year.
Yeah. That's such a good line, man.
Right? Just little things like that. And he asks, they're trying to move Martin's chair because he's going to have a party.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
And he's like, Niles, help me lift this chair. And he goes, oh, you're serious? Frasier, you know I don't lift. He's like, yes, with that stick where it is, I'm surprised you can bend. But I loved those little lines. Like, it has nothing to do with the plot of the episode, but just funny. Like, just listening to how well a joke can be crafted by the wording and everything like that, right? So I really like the witty stuff in Frasier. I really like the witty stuff in Cheers. There's been a few other shows that I've really liked like that. But here's the thing. I actually, this is my confession. I don't know if I've ever said it in the podcast before. I was not a Seinfeld fan.
Interesting.
I did try watching a few episodes, but I never liked any of the characters. I found them all to be very, very arrogant.
Right.
And very full of themselves. So now maybe you were supposed to hate the characters in order to enjoy the show.
Yeah.
But I was like, I would come in at random episodes and then I'm like, I don't like any of these people.
Right.
And so I'm not rooting for them in their problems. When something bad happens to them, I'm all like, oh shit. I'm like, good, fuck you.
That's right. Yeah.
So
that's
I
exactly
never,
how it's written. You're supposed to feel that.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I never got into it. Yeah, you're supposed to be like, fuck these characters.
Yeah.
I'll be back next week to see more.
Yeah.
No, I didn't like them, so I wasn't invested in any of the episodes.
Right.
And another show I really never liked was Friends.
Yeah, I could tell by your face earlier that you weren't a fan.
Well, I don't, and here's the thing, I actually got into arguments with my ex because she was a big fan of Friends, and I was talking about how much I just didn't like it. But I think I didn't like it because I found all the jokes to be really, really like diluted and dumbed down.
Oh yeah.
I'm not saying that anyone who watches it is dumb or anything, but like I found that like every episode you would have the exact same jokes, almost like an Austin Powers movie. I don't know if you're familiar with the reference.
Yeah, I've seen all of those.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Good. So, but I found that like Friends, it was like every episode Phoebe would have something to do with her stupid Smelly Cat song, which wasn't funny to begin with. So why they kept doing it, I don't get. Right. But she would do that thing and Joey would be like, come on, I can't believe the blah, blah, blah. And it was like, he just said something stupid. That's all he ever says. Like,
that's right.
There was I didn't find anything to be particularly witty or clever or funny. I was like just waiting for that Smelly
Chandler
Cat
or Ross.
No, like Ross was always just like he would just pull back.
Changes. So you had to watch later.
Well, I don't know if I'm invested in that. Like getting a relationship that sucks with someone, be like, maybe if you change, I'll like you. But I'll stick it out for fucking 6 years until it finally gets good, I guess.
No, it's like season 3 or
I think
4
people had a codependent relationship with Friends. They didn't. I swear he's really funny when no one's around.
Hey, buddy.
And then one day, you're just hoping they'll change. And when they do, you go, see? Yeah. See, I told you. Anyway, I don't know.
That's exactly what happened with Ross.
I never liked it. Again, I've learned, later in life, don't walk around judgmental to shit I don't like. Not everything's for everybody. Right. But I just couldn't get on board with those shows. I find Big Bang Theory to be, like originally they had some really funny stuff, doing jokes about science and whatnot. But then I found that it just got really sort of silly, stupid penis jokes and right. I don't know. I found, here's what it is. I found the jokes predictable.
In Big Bang Theory?
Big Bang and even in Friends too. Yeah. Is that you see them starting to set up the joke, and you know this from being a comic and watching comedy. Right. If you can see where the joke is going, and if you got there faster than the comic did, right, then you're not going to laugh. You know exactly what to expect. You're not caught with that laughter. But that's why I like comics, guys like John Doerr and stuff like that, where you don't see where they're going with something, and until they get there, like, oh fuck, and that was funny. Like I still like being surprised and to laugh. And I don't mean shocked.
Right.
But I like being surprised in the left. I like not being able to see where we're going. I like that surprise.
Yeah, like a magic trick.
Yeah.
Yeah, they pull it out of the hat.
Like, how
and
the
you're like,
fuck
"Oh,
did
shit.
they?
Wow.
Yeah, but even in comedy, then you get it afterwards. You go, oh fuck, that was really well written.
Right.
But I found that when I'm watching those sitcoms and I know where they're going, and I'm like, just get there. Boom. Ah ha ha. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Right.
Like
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch a show whose jokes I could have written myself faster. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
But I mean, but you didn't watch
Maybe
movies.
that's what I
You didn't
liked
watch
about
movies. You didn't.
Maybe I enjoyed knowing where they were going and then being like,
Well,
yes.
because those were references you'd get later. You got to watch movies 6 times before you could.
That's right.
Luke, I am
Precisely
your father.
6.
Oh, that's Mad Max. What? Have you seen Mad Max?
No, I've never seen Mad Max
I haven't
either.
seen Mad Max.
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen it, but there was so.
Is that Mel Gibson?
It is.
Though? Yeah. See,
I
now
think.
that's this stuff. Like, I watched a lot of talk shows,
Okay.
a lot of, like late night talk shows and stuff. So I've seen all these people from all these movies. I know all the movies. Sometimes I
You've
even know
seen all
stories
the
about
promo
them.
from
Yeah,
the
I've seen all
movies.
the promo. None of it enticed me enough to actually
That's
watch
fair.
them.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of the Lethal Weapons. I haven't seen any of those.
I have seen once on a plane or a bus or something. I watched like a portion of it had to be a plane, and we were because it was in the seat or whatever, and then the like power went out on the
The
not
whole
on the
plane fell.
Yeah. It's during a plane crash.
Can you
And,
imagine that the power goes out and someone's watching? Hey, fuck! That plane's going down. What the fuck is going on?
How does this
Bull-
movie
like
end?
no panic. Just
ends
what
with
the
you dying
fuck?
in
Yeah.
the cliff.
The
Yeah.
ultimate cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Have you seen Cliffhanger?
No.
What about the Rocky movies?
Okay, so I definitely have seen the like very first Rocky movie. I have not seen the most recent Rocky movie.
Yeah, me
Probably
neither.
the last one that was Stallone, like about actually Rocky.
Yeah,
not
that one was
the-
just called Rocky Balboa.
No. Then
Okay.
before that, Rocky 5.
Oh, that one was shit.
Now, who does he fight in the thing?
He
'Cause
fights
I've
his
seen-
protege, who he's trying to teach to be the next big thing, but he's like a mouthy little cunt, so
Oh,
he
maybe
beats
I
the
haven't
shit out of
seen
him in the
that
street. The most iconic one that I found that I'd seen because they played like every 2 weeks on TBS when that was still a station was Rocky 4, where he fights Ivan Drago.
Ivan Drago. Yeah. Okay, so I've seen that too.
Yeah, that one's great.
Apollo Creed is one.
So the first one, he fights Apollo Creed and quote unquote goes the distance. Spoiler alert.
Right.
So he doesn't beat him, but he stays 15 rounds with him, which like no one had done.
And that's the one.
And then
I've
in the
seen for
second
sure.
movie, he gets a rematch with him and beats him to win the title.
Is that where he dies?
No,
Oh.
no, Ivan Drago killed him.
Oh yeah. I thought Rocky killed him. No, it's not.
I thought Rocky killed his best friend. No.
By accident, like in a fight.
Whoops! I accidentally punched you as hard as I can in the
We're
face.
fighting. This is boxing. What the fuck am I gonna do?
I didn't know I could hurt him.
There's no friends in the ring.
I thought we were using stunt blood on his.
Oops.
This is way more. I
killed
wish.
him.
I wish my podcast was a movie podcast because then this would be way more.
Oh man,
way more relevant.
I would never have.
Someone's
agreed.
like, where did he get the talk show? Yeah, dude. The second one, he fights Apollo and actually beats him, wins the title. The third one, he goes up against. Speaking of wrestlers, I don't think he was a wrestler. He goes up against Mr. T, and Apollo helps him train for Mr. T because Mr. T is like the fucking baddest dude. Starts beating the shit out of people. So what happens is in the third one, Apollo helps Rocky train. That's where they really become friends, and helps him train and to beat Mr. T. And then the fourth one, Ivan Drago, this big threat from the Soviet Union, whatever, comes over, and Apollo goes, "Oh, I'm going to show him how it's done in America," and he gets killed. And then Rocky agrees to fight him again, but over in Russia or whatever.
Right.
And Rocky beats
And
the
Rocky
shit out
goes
of
to
him.
like a cottage in the woods in the
Yeah.
snow and
It's on
carries
fire.
logs and shit.
Yep.
Oh yeah. See, I've
Yeah.
seen it.
You've seen a fucking montage on YouTube of him carrying logs. But that was a good one. So they did Creed, which was Apollo Creed's son, fights boxing or whatever, fights in a boxing ring.
Michael B. Jordan.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're so happy when you know
I saw
you
him on
have
the
a
talk show.
contribution. Yes, Michael B. Jordan.
I saw the
the
promos.
talk show. I saw
the
the promos. Well, in Creed 2, because now Creed's a brand new series. Creed, his son Michael B. Jordan,
Yeah.
is fighting Ivan Drago's son. Like that's what they're trying to do to make it exciting. It's like it's Ivan Drago's son. Your dad was killed by my
who won?
dad.
Who
I don't
wins?
know. I haven't seen it. It's not out yet.
Oh, you mean like the newest?
The newest
one. But
movie.
what's the first one about? Creed.
It's just about this kid who becomes a boxer and finds out his dad was Apollo Creed. And guess who teaches him how to box? Rocky.
Did he know it was his son before the kid did? Did he know that was?
Oh, I don't know. I don't remember. It was stupid.
Oh, okay.
They're like, that's like the 7th movie. They're trying to make people give a shit again. And now it's like, guess who you're going to fight? Apollo Creed's son. The guy's son who killed your dad.
Right.
That I never knew? Yeah. Are you invested? No, but I think people who might be paying attention to this fight somewhere.
Yeah.
Might
There's a
give
lot of
shit.
people who loved Apollo Creed, even if his son didn't know who he was.
Living in America. That big long dance number he does. So American and cocky to Ivan Drago. And then he kills him. That same line.
That's
If
right.
he dies, he dies. That's all he says.
Who was Ivan? Who played him? It was
Dolph Lundgren.
Dolph Lundgren. And he's in, The Expendables, which, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's like so not. Apparently he's like a doctor or something. Or
Is
a
he?
dentist or something like that.
Come on. Really?
Yeah. I don't have my phone. I left it upstairs. I was going to Google.
Does that mean like an
someone told me the other day.
enforcer? Then they
One
call
of
him
the
the dentist?
listeners told me the other day what Dolph Lundgren was before he got into like action movies, and it was something like hilarious, like not bodybuilding, whatever.
Wow.
I think he was like a baker or something like that. But he was also. Did you ever see Masters of the Universe as a kid? Did you watch He-Man?
What do you think, Josh? What's
think,
your guess?
Well, the cartoon, I would
Red
say
or
yes.
black?
I would say the cartoon, yes. Did you ever watch He-Man, the Masters of the Universe?
No, never.
She-Ra? If you know that reference, okay, good. Okay.
I don't even know.
They were cartoons when we were kids, man. Well, they did a live action Masters of the Universe movie.
Okay.
And Dolph Lundgren played He-Man, again, someone who just heard of right now. How the fuck do you not know He-Man?
Well, I've heard of He-Man. I've
Okay.
heard of
well,
the
it's
He-Man,
called
but I've never seen
He-Man and the Masters of the Universe is the name of the show.
it. Right. That's
so,
what I've never
So they
seen.
did a live.
Probably
yeah.
saw a promo for it though.
Yeah. Well, they did a live action movie of it. And Dolph Lundgren played He-Man.
Did he do a good job?
No, that's why they didn't make any more of them. He could barely speak English. It was like four minutes after he was like Ivan Drago. Frank Langella played Skeletor. Do you know who Frank Langella is?
Nope.
All right. You shouldn't. I didn't know who he was.
Skeletor is from He-Man.
There's so many comics doing jokes about Skeletor and stuff.
Yeah. I don't laugh at those comics. I don't get their jokes.
Jesus. So what, did you watch like Little House on the Prairie or something like that? You watched?
No. I watched, as a kid, I would watch like DuckTales and Flintstones and those kind of like cartoony.
Like the Hanna-Barbera stuff?
Yeah, that kind of
Jetsons?
stuff. Bugs Bunny, a little bit of the Jetsons. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, when I was a kid, I was really active. I was playing a lot of hockey. Hockey was my life when I was a kid.
Okay.
Sports were everything. Like I would
Okay.
watch every Leaf game. I was a Leafs fan. I would.
So you weren't
every
watching
team.
movies, you're watching sports.
Yeah, I was watching a lot of sports and playing a lot of hockey as well. And then in the summer, I would play a lot of baseball and stuff like that. So I don't know, like I was really into wrestling too. So I'd watch wrestling, hockey, sports in general. I'd say like baseball,
and then
football.
comedy movies were your thing.
Comedy
and
movies
shitty
I loved.
sitcoms.
Yeah, shitty sitcoms and comedy movies and sports.
Do you know, like anyone listening to this now, if they come to your shows, I'm hoping that they bring you old DVDs that they don't want anymore, and they're like, "Watch this movie. Watch this movie."
I hope. First of all,
Take
I hope
it
so
and
too.
watch it, enjoy.
I did a shoot with this guy once who is he's a really young guy who's like 19 but like a prodigy of shooting and directing and all that kind of stuff. He's probably going to be a massive director if he keeps going the way he's going.
Okay.
We had a break on set one day. We're sitting around and obviously movies come up and this kid
The
knows
same conversation?
everything about
Yeah.
every fucking movie. And so I try to kind of stay with him on the references for a bit, right? And then he just drops something and I'm like, I've never seen that. And he goes, what? You never seen whatever the movie was? And I'm like, no. And then it became, well, have you seen this? Have you seen this? Have you seen this? And they were all no's across the board. His face looked like he saw a ghost. It was just complete white. Can't believe it.
Yeah.
Next day he comes in, massive bag, and just goes, you need to watch all of these. And I have not watched any of them. I still have them. Yeah.
See, that's the thing too. It's like you can lead a horse to water.
I know.
You
Can't make him
do
drink,
shit.
man. Can't make me watch these.
Dude, there's and here's the thing too. The movies that you listed are garbage. No, no, some of the movies you listed are not bad, But like having seen all the Home Alones, like I'll tell you right now, Ace Ventura when Nature Calls is dog shit. There's like 3 funny parts.
Oh my God.
Him snorting and blowing mouth cum all over everybody in the tent is disgusting.
Hey, he's showing respect.
If that's what they had to write in order to cover themselves and cum for a joke, well,
the Wachutus.
But the Wachutu.
No, that's the tribe that tries to kill him. The Wachutus.
I think. See, here's the thing: in terms of everyone's mental memory storage of movie references, they weren't like which tribe was which in the Ace Ventura movie. Shikaka. All I remember is I know that my favorite part of the second one was when he's too hot in the rhino and he has to crawl out of its ass, the
amazing.
hole in its ass, and it looks like a rhino gives birth to a man.
Yeah. It's amazing.
That was really funny.
The funniest thing is the first 2 fingers that just pop out and then back in and then back out again, and then he goes stretching.
Just giving birth.
Oh my God. Yeah. I love it. Yeah.
And it just falls out.
Admittedly, I probably like the first one better than the second one, but I really like the second one.
Oh, the first one was funny.
It's hilarious. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so many, and
amazing.
Here's a little piece of trivia for you. Ace Ventura was coming out in theaters. Okay, so I can't remember where the fuck I watched this. And we'll get back to the story of you in a minute. But
hey man, this is way more fascinating than me.
I'm having more fun.
I've barely done anything.
But you just said I don't know.
I can tell you a lot about Mason City, Illinois.
Michael B. Jordan, right? Right? Yeah.
Good interview.
This is fun.
Watch. No, I don't mean this one. This one's fun too, but I mean Michael B. Jordan.
Oh, it was a good interview.
Talking about Creed. Oh, fuck.
That was a good interview.
What an interview.
So what'd you have to do to get yourself into shape? Well, a lot of exercise. No shit.
Broccoli and chicken, buddy.
Right?
Everybody's the
I want
same.
another beer, but I don't have to pause the podcast. What do I do?
Do you want me to go get you one?
No.
Do you want to talk while I go get it?
No,
for you?
that seems unfair.
Why don't you
no.
tell the story of what you're about to tell?
This is how we're problem solving. I like
and
this.
I will go. It's just.
You want a
here,
beer?
right?
Or you're still drinking yours.
I'm still good
Your
here.
delicious Summersby, sponsor of the One Man Podcast.
Yeah, this Summersby is the best beer I've ever had in my whole life. Hopefully they send me some product now for the shout out.
I would imagine, although they probably don't like that you called their cider a beer.
Oh shit! Doesn't it say? Oh,
Yeah, it says apple flavored cider. You suck at remembering and references. This Summersby is the best beer.
well, then that's an even bigger compliment. It's not even a beer, and it's the best beer I've ever
It's
had.
already kicking beer's
That's
ass.
how good Summersby is. Is their cider is better than any beer I've ever had.
This steak is better than any rice cake I've ever.
Seriously, you tell the story, and I'll go get you. What do you? Which
I don't care.
one?
There's 2 beers like on the middle shelf. I'll have whichever. And you're welcome to the other one if you like. So now that I'm talking to myself again, we're just a regular episode of the One Man Podcast. What was I going to talk about? Shit, I thought I had a funny story. Do you remember what we were talking about? Yeah, I'll take that. I didn't even know I had that in there. Oh, yes, I do. I put those in there. Yeah. All right. Well, I'm having a Kilkenny. I thought I was having a Sleeman, but I'm not. I'm having. Do you remember what I was going to talk about? What story? Jim Carrey.
Yeah, Jim.
Oh,
yeah,
thank
there's a
Christ.
piece of trivia that you're about to hit
So
me with.
this, yeah, and I might be slightly off with some of the details, but the nuts and bolts are accurate. So when Jim Carrey did Ace Ventura, okay, they filmed it, everything like that. I think he was doing in living color, and Hollywood was abuzz of this guy. His new movie was coming out. Ace Ventura was about to come out.
Yep.
And he had already filmed The Mask.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
so The Mask was filmed, but it wasn't released yet. I guess it was still in production or editing or whatever, post-production. But Ace Ventura was about to come out in theaters, and the Farrelly brothers were trying to get him for Dumb and Dumber because that was his 3rd movie. And they were like, we need to get this contract signed before this Ace Ventura movie hits theaters, because the second it hits theaters, he's going to be worth so much more money.
Right.
Right? Because no one had real a taste of him, right? Ace Ventura was his breakthrough role, right? Like he did something with Damon Wayans and Jeff Goldblum called Earth Girls Are Easy. Have you even heard of that?
No, never.
It's a very, very funny movie where it's like Damon Wayans, Jeff Goldblum, and Jim Carrey are like these three aliens that like crash on Earth. And I believe Gina Davis is the woman in it, but I could be wrong.
Wow.
But she's like, so to crash on Earth. And then they're these like furry Muppet looking guys. But what happens is it's like, oh, they're so goofy. But then she shaves them all. And then they look like Damon Wayans, Jim Carrey, and Jeff Goldblum. And then I think the Gina Davis character falls in love with, Jeff Goldblum because he's the lead alien monkey, whatever.
Of course.
And the other two, but whatever. But they were doing that back in the In Living Color days. And it was like a B movie that I hadn't heard of until years after Jim Carrey was already a household name. But so the whole idea was he'd filmed, Ace Ventura was about to come out. They'd already filmed it and done the post. He'd already filmed The Mask, but they wanted him for Dumb and Dumber. So I hadn't even started filming Dumb and Dumber. But the idea is that and that people forget about how that kind of works in Hollywood. They like just see a guy in a movie because it's out for us to see. Right. They don't realize, well, they made that, years ago. Jonah Hill made that movie, The Sitter, and he was still fat in it. He'd lost a bunch of weight, already done 21 Jump Street, whatever. And this movie, The Sitter, was like sitting on a shelf for a while because then it comes out and he's still way overweight like he was,
right,
in 40-Year-Old Virgin. But anyways, just as a fun little piece of trivia is Ace Ventura hadn't even come out in theaters yet, and the Farrelly brothers are trying to lock him down for Dumb and Dumber because if they didn't, and they managed to come up with a deal prior to its release. But just that how if they had been like a day later, he would have been worth 3-4 times as much because the world would have fallen in love with him, and now he's this big fucking name. Look how big his numbers are in the box office and everything like that.
Right.
So I don't know, just an interest.
Smart, smart on their part to think ahead and be like, okay, well, this guy's going to be a fucking massive star.
Well, the same thing happened with Seth Rogen. As soon as 40-Year-Old Virgin came out, Kevin Smith saw it, was like, I want that guy to be the star of my next movie. He's going to be huge. But then Judd Apatow went and did Knocked Up right away afterwards, which put Seth in the lead. But then shortly after that, Zack and Miri Make a Porno by Kevin Smith, where Seth Rogen played the
that's a Kevin Smith movie?
It's a Kevin Smith movie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
Okay.
Of course I've seen it.
Well, fuck you, of course. Every fucking movie that I name you haven't seen.
No, but it's a comedy and not great. So
yeah, it wasn't awful though.
No, it wasn't awful.
Jersey Girl was a piece of shit. That was a shitty Kevin.
Loved
fuck
it.
You.
I love that little girl, man. She was so good in that movie. She was. She's really funny. She's smart.
Stand by your conviction. Finish your review.
I don't give a shit. I didn't necessarily love the overall movie, but I really liked that little. I thought that girl was great, and George Carlin was
always great.
Was like,
try being a father, shithead.
yeah. I liked it.
I love Carlin. Carlin's great.
Oh, Carlin's the best.
I got to meet him when I was 19, long before I ever entertained the notion of being a stand-up comic.
Where did you meet him?
The National Arts Center here in Ottawa.
Like he was performing and you met him, after? Or how did you get in?
So I think I actually told this story on the very first episode of the podcast. But I was also, it was like 2:00 in the morning at this table and I was probably more boring than I've ever been in my entire life. But so what happened was we were not doing too well. My family wasn't doing too well financially at the time.
Okay.
So the idea of me even just being able to get tickets to go see that wouldn't happen. But I didn't know he was coming to town. My mom saw in the newspaper that he was coming. She knew what a big George Carlin fan I was. And she's like, I almost didn't get you tickets, but I saw what the date was that he was coming, and the date was my birthday. Oh. So she's like, it's just too perfect or whatever. So she got me 3 tickets so I could bring a couple of my friends. And they were like $100 each. So it was like, it was a tough cost, but I mean, $300 is nothing to most people, but at the time that was tight. Yeah. So I'm very grateful for the gesture on my mom's part because I didn't even know he was coming. It's not like I was coming and she was guilted into doing it. Right. This was truly just her going, I don't know if for Christ's sakes, it's his birthday. So what I did, that ended up helping me meet him, I think, because what I did was I called the National Arts Center and I was like, hey, I'm coming to see George Carlin. It's my birthday. And I was just really wondering, I don't know who I talked to about maybe getting the chance to like get a picture and an autograph. And like someone called me back and they're like, we're not this part's, you talk to this department, they're in charge of that. So I called that person and left a message, and then and it was basically every time I got a call back was like the next day or like 2 days later. So I had like a week to get my yes or no. Right. And I think that the best thing that I got was like the day of, I got a call and they were like, when you show up tonight, ask to speak to this person and she'll ask for you. And I was like, fuck. So I still didn't have a definitive yes or no. So when I got there, I remember going up to security. I'm like, hey, is so-and-so available? And they got her for me. Said, hi, my name's Josh. It's my birthday. I've worked in hotels and stuff, and I've met celebrities before. I'm not going to drive them crazy or anything like that. I would really love to get an autograph and a picture. It would make my day. I'm like, it's my birthday, you know, like it'd be a very big deal to me. So he wasn't doing a meet and greet or anything like that. And I remember she like walked, you know, we're out in the front foyer where everyone is. And I remember she like sort of walked down this hallway and then through a pair of double doors. I'm standing there with my two friends, and I'm like, I don't know if this is ever going to happen, you know?
Right.
You know, like I go, I don't know. I lowered my expectation, whatever. And I just see her pop through the door and do the whole, you know, like the finger hook, like come on down this way.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh shit. So we step over the velvet rope, and security lets us because they know what happened. And we walk down and we go through this little back hallway, and there he is standing there, and, you know, shakes my hand and autographs. I bought this box set of DVDs
right.
from like his early specials, and he autographed that and a couple of the discs inside or whatever. I have it upstairs. I can show you if you want.
Holy shit, man.
But, and and instead of just like, hey, here's a picture, all right, guys, have a good one. And this was the thing. He had actually added a second show, and the second show is the one that we were going to see.
Right.
So he'd added a second show, and this was in between the two shows. So he, like, knowing what I know about comedy now, when you're doing two shows for like, you know, 4,000 people each or whatever, that time in between shows is precious to just sit there and relax a little bit. And,
yeah.
you know, but he was chatting with us for like 15, 20 minutes. Like I was trying to let him go. You know what I mean? And I don't mean that like he wouldn't shut up, but I'm just saying like I was not hesitating when he wanted to talk to us, but it was like I was totally prepared at any moment. Okay, well, thanks so much. Yeah, can't wait to see the show. But he was chatting with us and asking
and he was
questions.
Nice?
Dude, so nice.
Wow.
So nice.
That's
so
cool.
So nice. I think I said on the podcast too that I'm glad I wasn't a comic at the time, because I think that I almost, you know, like you knew and you want to ask, like, here, it's fucking George Carlin. You want to be like, yeah, you know, I got a bit about, like, I'm glad I wasn't like pitching jokes or whatever.
Right.
I was able to just be like, hey man, I just love what you do.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So it was a really, really cool experience.
That's so awesome, man. That's
yeah.
really
And
cool.
I think he died like a year later.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, how old were you? You were 19?
I think it was 18 or 19.
So probably on that same exact tour, because it's around that time, and I would have been about 17, which is accurate. I saw him in London at John Labatt Center.
Okay.
And my mom got me tickets, same deal. It wasn't my birthday or anything. It was just like,
yeah,
she knew I was, she was a huge fan. Like that was her favorite comedian.
Yeah.
And so she got tickets, and me and my mom got in some kind of dumb fight, like as a, you know, whatever, you're a teenager.
Yeah.
And to prove a point, which didn't make any sense, I was like, well, I'm not going to this show. Like a complete idiot. And then changed my mind.
Okay, thank God.
That lasted from like 3 to 7, and then the show's at 8 or whatever. And I'm like,
all right,
fuck it, I should. And I think my mom even said, like, we can talk about whatever our problem is tomorrow, but you don't not see George Carlin. That would be pretty dumb if this is what you want to do.
Yeah, well, and then he's dead a year later, right?
And then he was,
You're like,
he did that last. That must have been the tour for his last special, like his very, very last special.
Maybe.
Because he was reading stuff off of a paper to get the wording right.
Same thing, yeah.
Yeah, not the whole time.
I know the upside of downsizing. I know the something like that. Where he was doing a bit about that.
And he
did a bit about perfectly good pussies. He's like, girls died of perfectly good pussies. You could have cut that out and bring it up to a hermit in the middle of the mountain. Oh, God bless you. God bless you.
God bless you.
Oh, thank you very much. He goes, I feel bad these girls died, but they're perfectly good pussies.
Yeah.
You just cut that out and give up.
Great point.
Oh, my God. I guess that's the thing you think about when you're fucking 80.
Yeah.
You're just like, I
would
could
think
have,
about that.
The young
now,
girl
maybe.
died. Fuck, I could have used that. Perfectly good parts, right? You just scrap a car.
What are we doing with that pussy, though? Where's that going? That's not going to science, is it?
You can make molds out of it. Yeah, no, it was a fun show. It was like I said, it was cool to meet him. He was a great dude. Anyone who doesn't know who he is, they're like, is that the kind of jokes he made? Just cutting out pussies, pussies for hermits. It's this big foundation.
He was. I'm glad to hear he was nice too, because it drives me nuts when people are like, yeah, I met so and so. He was a dick.
Big asshole.
You know?
Yeah.
I hate that. It drives me nuts.
Well, isn't there an old saying like never meet your heroes?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why
they always end up disappointing or
yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Or they can only disappoint.
Right.
A lot of times, but no, I wasn't disappointed. I actually heard a story, and I don't remember who told it, but there was like a comic who like brought like I don't think it was a movie script, but he brought like a bunch of notes from his act, like this bit that he was writing or whatever. It might have been a movie. All I know is it was several stacks of paper, like just a shitload of writing.
Yeah.
And he was opening for Carlin or something like that, or he was doing shows on a weekend or something, and he brought them in, and he was like, hey, do you mind letting me know what you think of this thing or whatever? And gave it to Carlin, and like Carlin, and he thought he was never going to read it. And the next night, Carlin came back, and the whole thing with notes in the margins and everything.
Yeah,
he read the whole fucking thing.
What's that in? I Am Comic?
I don't know.
Is that from I Am Comic?
It might be.
I just not too long ago heard that same story about.
And it was like that. He took the time out of his own
to like come back with legit notes.
Yeah,
yeah.
But did you know he never hung out? Did you read his book, Last Words?
No.
It's worth reading.
Yeah.
He never stayed. He never stuck around after shows.
Carlin?
Never stuck around. He was never a comics comic in the sense that like he was, right? Comics love his shit or whatever, and it's inspiration to so many. But he didn't stick around and have drinks afterwards and shoot the shit and bust everybody's balls.
Right.
When he was done, he went home. Now he struggled with like drugs and alcohol and a bunch of different things throughout the course of his life, but he never was that guy who like hung out all night and got drunk and whatever. Like he'd do his drugs at home.
Right.
But the idea was like when he was done his set, he went home. Like he was at work and he went home. Yeah. So he didn't sit around and get shit faced and just waste time hobnobbing.
Good. I like that.
Well, I don't know. What does he call it? Fraternizing.
Hobnobbing's good, better though.
Okay.
Fraternizing's good, but hobnobbing for comedic purposes, I feel is much better.
I like when I'm being productive for comedic purposes.
Yeah, absolutely. Fraternizing is like something that a principal would say when he caught you, like around the locker.
What is this chicanery? This tomfoolery has to end right now.
Quit your hobnobbing.
Quit your hobnobbing, little bastards. Yeah, well, whatever. I don't know where to jump from that. Let's go back to you though in comedy, right? Because you're the guest, and all I'm doing is telling stories this time. I'm basically yelling movie titles at you.
You're telling stories while I'm getting you beer. What kind of fucking podcast is this?
I'll tell you, it's a successful one.
You ever thought about changing it to get my beer?
Yeah, get my beer. One man talks, one man fetches.
Get my beer. My guest today.
This is a social compliance show.
My beer.
I'm just trying to see what I can get you to do over the course of the end. I'll be telling a story. You're up front mowing the lawn. I can't tell these stories while my views obstructed.
Here, if you don't mind, I'll tell this long story.
Yeah. So you were doing comedy in London.
Yes.
And I know very earlier on in your what seemingly to me early on in your career, you taped a DVD special. You even got your own show in London, like London Tonight, right?
Yeah, it was a late night. It was a late night talk show basically, and it was London had. Well, I guess they still have, but like a Rogers TV, so local cable or whatever. Yeah. So we had. Actually, how I got so on Rogers they had a daytime show. It was like a morning, like Regis and Kathy Lee or whatever show, but terrible.
Rogers daytime,
horrible.
They have it here.
Do they?
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. Okay. So in London's was like, I mean, it's not Toronto and it's not it's a smaller market. So like the hosts you're gonna get are questionable, and then the hosts weren't even the problem. It was the guests was like. Mary from the bake sale is on to talk about the bake sale, but what past our brownies are great this year. What else is she going to really talk about,
Yeah.
So
how do you get them that moist?
Right. Yeah. It's like, and I had such respect for the hosts because, they had to really go question that. Like, where do you go?
And so you haven't seen the movie? Our guest today, comedian Jeff Leeson.
Hasn't seen any of these movies.
Can you imagine? Oh, buddy, you would like if there was like a Price is Right of movies.
Yeah,
you would fucking do horrible.
Oh, that would be the worst. Unless they got to the comedy that most people haven't seen genre, I would just destroy that one. If they threw a little Friends in there, oh my god, I'm a winner. But anything else, movies people should have seen, if that was a category, I would be done.
How did you? Okay, so you've been plagued with this. I haven't seen. I can't let it go. I'm not gonna be able to get to sleep tonight. No. How did this not become like a segment on your London Tonight? People throw sayings at you or quotes, movie quotes, famous ones,
Right.
to see if you even know what it's from. And it's like, well, those ones with the audience, it's painfully obvious to them which one it is.
Right.
And you're like,
a lot
Michael
of
B.
those...
Jordan. He played for the Chicago Bulls, right?
And the Wizards. He played for the Wizards as well. I know exactly.
See, the sports
I was an
things.
actor. Yeah, and because it never really became that big of a thing till more recently, and traveling. It was traveling with comics, really, in a car for hours, and you just talk nonsense forever. That I was like, a little by little, we go, oh fuck. It seems that a lot of people have seen movies I've never seen, and then I had a buddy who's like, his dad has every movie, like his DVD collection is just crazy. And so when I would go to his house, he would just be like, have you ever seen this? And I had seen basically nothing on his wall except for the bottom section where
comedies.
He kept Dodgeball and all those types of things.
Yeah. This is where I put them before I bring them to the Goodwill section.
Yeah. Rated that.
Just like, I've seen those.
Yeah, those are great. I'll take those.
Those are all from the Walmart.
I'm gonna watch those again. Can I have them? So it didn't even really become that clear till maybe in the last, I don't know, 4 years or something like that. Just like doing
how deprived you are.
Yeah.
You have you have like movie scurvy, right?
Yeah, I do.
Yes. Like your vitamin C of movies
It's an
is
epidemic.
so deficient.
It's sweeping the nation. There's
Like,
a lot
no,
like
I
me.
I eat my breads and meat.
I go
No,
every
you're gonna
week.
need that.
I go to movies people haven't seen anonymous meeting every Wednesday.
Do you know what would be a great idea for podcast for you? Is to watch on the podcast is watch a movie that you've never seen before.
Oh.
Like the famous ones, as you get to sit down and you just go, today I'm watching Jurassic Park. Never seen it. And you just do live commentary on the movie while you watch it. So your guests can either just listen to you watching it, do their thing, or they can watch the movie at the same time that you're watching it.
That is a very interesting idea for a podcast.
And because the idea that like to listen to a comedian who's never seen these classic movies.
Right.
And you can have a guest too if you want, doing commentary and be like, how the fuck have you never, like just they're blowing their mind while you're seeing things the first time, like, oh, I can't believe he's Kaiser Soze.
Oh, I have seen that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's like, like I
Usual
guess.
Suspects? Is
Yes.
that Usual
Yes, it
Suspects?
is. Yes, it is. Yeah.
Love that. Great.
But all I'm saying is like, but these are, well, yeah, and that's even not as iconic. Have you seen Seven with like Brad Pitt?
Yes, the head in the box.
Yeah, the head in the box.
I think it's Gwyneth Paltrow's head in that box, is it
Probably.
not? Yeah.
Yeah. We've all wanted to put her head in a box, haven't we, at one point?
I think so. Brad Pitt finally... No, it wasn't Brad Pitt. It was the other guy that did it, but...
Kevin Spacey.
Kevin Spacey, yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin Spacey is in Seven, too?
He's the killer.
He's the killer, right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
You just remembered that, eh?
Hey, okay, here's a question for you. Have you ever seen a movie called Copycat?
I don't know. I don't think so.
It's really old. It has to be early 90s. Sigourney Weaver plays a maybe a lawyer or something like that. She's something like
You
that.
can't even remember movies. Dude, that's the funniest part to me.
But here's why
You're like my mother trying to sell her. She gets all excited for a story, and then immediately when she starts, she doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. I'm like, you started this.
Right.
You were excited to tell it. And then she's like, what's the name? Like, starts asking me questions. I'm like, well, if I already know the answers, why are you telling me this story?
That's fair. That's
Sorry.
fair.
Sigourney Weaver Copycat.
Yeah, she plays a... do you know what she plays in the movie?
No, I don't even know if I've seen it.
It's not a great movie, but it scared the shit out of me.
Okay.
When I was a kid, it's about a murderer who copies all these other murders that are going on in the city, and they're trying to chase this guy. And he does, each one is like a different homage to like a
famous serial killer.
Um,
He's not copying an existing murder at the time.
no,
Okay.
no, he's copying.
So he'll do like a Jack
old-
the Ripper,
Yeah.
Ed Gein, and
Yeah.
he's copying.
But I don't know
Black
if they're
Dahlia.
real murders or if they're murders
Oh,
in
that
this
they
fake
created.
city.
I see.
Or whatever.
It's like this murder is exactly like that of the Joker's.
That's right. Yeah, it's like that. The Joker is in it. No, I'm just kidding. I know the Joker's from Superman. Relax. So I'm just kidding.
I know
man.
what you did. I know.
The flick of your thumb that like... and I know ordinarily you'd be like, this guy's obviously joking, but based on what we know about me now, I feel like part of you was like, I'm pretty sure
I have
he's serious.
to keep a 20%. Maybe he's serious. buffer, so I don't look like a complete idiot. Of course, good joke. You're like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anyways,
Scary movie?
But I was really young when I saw it. I had to be like maybe 10, 11, something like that. And it scared the shit out of me. It was like the guy playing the killer is so creepy and so real that it just seemed like a real, and I've never gone back and watched it as an adult to just clear my mind and be like, oh, that's just a stupid movie. But it really got into my mind as a kid. And I think, anyway, the reason I'm telling you this, I think the reason that I did not watch a lot of movies, except for comedies, growing up was based on that movie. I think I had a bad experience with that movie, and it soured me on like
dramas and suspense and thrillers. And
I think so.
Yeah. Well, when I was young, like I said, my mom did not care for horror movies or anything like that. So we watched comedies and dramas, you know, my mom had a really good sense of humor. But I know that when I used to be a kid, like you remember the experience, and a lot of kids that grow up never have this experience. You go to the video store and you just look at the backs of movies.
Oh,
I remember flipping the VHSs and you'd see two pictures in the back of a horror movie, and it was enough to give you nightmares because one of them would be like a skeleton and the other would be like some dude screaming.
Right.
And you're like, I guess that tells me what the movie's about. But I remember flipping the backs of horror movie cases and just seeing like Chucky with a knife and scaring the shit out of myself of like what these movies are about.
Right.
So when I was growing up, I remember Silence of the Lambs came out and my mom saw it and she's like, you guys can't see that movie. It's way too intense or whatever. And I think like we were like 11 and 9 at the time. You know, my brother worked at the club for a while, whatever.
Okay. What's your brother's name?
Aaron.
Aaron?
Not Aaron Power.
Not Aaron Power. No.
No, but the other Aaron. He was a server. He was a doorman and a server, whatever.
Okay.
You'd probably recognize him instantly if you saw him.
Yeah, for sure. I don't recognize the name, but
yeah. And again, my phone's upstairs, so I can't just show you a picture of him right now.
Of course.
But
two A's?
Two
Is
A's.
he an AA?
Yeah. Because ERIN is girls.
But some guys do ARRON.
They're idiots.
Right? That's what
Aaron.
They're idiots. Like
Aaron.
it was their
Aaron.
decision.
No, you could fix that shit. You pay $50 and you never make that mistake again. You go get it fixed downtown.
It's $50.
$50 or everyone thinks you're a douchebag every time they see you write down your name. That's a $50.
Aaron?
Well,
No.
Aaron.
Aaron? Yeah, like he's
well,
like
how do you
British or
you don't say arrow. Maybe you do. Yeah, arrow.
Yeah, you do.
Aaron.
Arrow. That's how you say it, right?
Yeah, but
Broken arrow. Yeah.
Aaron. Then it would be with two R's. Aaron.
But there's
Wouldn't
no
be
E.
Aaron.
There's no E on the end.
It doesn't have to be. Arrow doesn't have an E after the W.
Oh, that's right. But it has
O-W-O-N.
the W. That's how you land on the O.
Aaron.
But then it should be ow, because really. Arrow. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
The English
two A's
language
is
is
stupid
fucked
as
like
well.
that,
You know what?
though.
Aaron's just a stupid name no matter how you spell it. I'm going to go
fair.
ahead and say that.
Yeah, that's understandable.
But the fuck are we talking about?
Your brother
ADD.
is how we got on this. Who's
his
thoroughly
name is
offended now, for sure.
spelled like that. Oh, Aaron doesn't give a shit.
That's right.
What were we actually talking? Oh, yeah. We would. She came home with Silence of the Lambs. I love ADD. Isn't it great? You can just forget what you're talking about and not even care. She watched Silence of the Lambs. I remember not long after. This was a big TV event too. Because remember how you don't see TV movies until like years after they came out?
Yeah.
Well, like the next year or maybe even later that year when Silence of the Lambs had come out in theaters, it was like on TV. And my mom was like, don't watch it and everything. It was on TV. My brother and I were in our bedroom. She was watching it with one of her friends in the living room, and we kept turning on the TV in our room and putting it on the movie for like a minute at a time.
Right.
But then something fucked up would happen. Like Hannibal Lecter would wear a face or something. Like you're like, oh fuck. But I remember at the time, we had started watching X-Files.
Okay.
Okay. Did you ever watch X-Files?
No.
Okay. Not surprising. Fuck sakes. Well,
I know about it. Skalder and
yep. That's you can just say one word from any movie, and I'll be like, oh, I know all about it. Skalder.
What was the other one? Mulder.
Mulder and Scully.
Mulder and Scully. Yeah.
Skalder. Scully.
Is Scully the guy?
No.
Ah, fuck.
See, I don't know if you're fucking around or if that was the purpose.
No, I really didn't know.
Okay. Yeah. Fox Mulder, Dana Scully were the two characters.
Okay.
David Duchovny and Gillian Anderson.
Yeah. He was on Californication.
Yeah, you know all of his recent stuff.
Yeah.
Watched the late night interviews, saw the
I
promos.
saw his promo. He had to be checked into a sex addiction as well.
Yeah, poor
I think
guy.
Him and Taya Leone.
My problem is I'm having too many sex adventures with hot women.
No, I think it was
Someone
him and
please
his
help
wife.
me.
Tia Leone was his
Yeah,
wife,
yeah.
and she had
Bad
a sex,
boys.
She had a sex addiction.
To what?
Sex.
What, they were
sex.
fucking each other too much?
I think they were fucking other
My
people.
problem is we're married and we're fucking each other too much in Hollywood.
No, I think the problem was they were fucking other
Right,
people,
of course.
and not enough. But they were also fucking each other. It got too much, so they had to check in to a rehab. As the story goes.
It's funny too because the audience can't see us just trying to hold back laughter, staring
Right.
at each other.
Yep.
But like, I wonder how you cure a sex addiction. They're like, put your penis in this hole.
Yeah.
And it's like a toaster. They put your penis in the hole and they push the thing down and it starts to burn it. Ah!
Why is it so
Because they have to
hot?
do like Clockwork Orange type things, right? So like, do you think that they do the thing where like, you know how they are holding his, oh, you fuck, it's a movie reference, you piece of shit.
Yeah, I've never seen Clockwork Orange either. I went
Have
to
you
a-
seen the iconic scene where they're holding his eyes open, making him watch stuff?
No.
They did it in The Simpsons when Mr. You didn't watch The Simpsons either?
No.
How do you talk
Should
to
I
this guy?
How do you talk?
How do you have a conversation? You know that thing, and you're like, no, I don't. In the Clockwork Orange, it's a Stanley Kubrick movie. Oh, for God's sakes!
I know
gotta
who he
explain-
is.
No, you don't. So the whole idea is that there's these criminals. The main character is Malcolm McDowell. I don't know if you know who that is, but he's been in a lot of things.
Okay.
And the movie is about like not being able to change. This was going to be a dick joke, by the way, but now I have to explain a whole lot. So he's a criminal. He gets sent to jail. Then he gets, he volunteers to be a part of this program that's supposed to help criminals get out of jail sooner. And what happens is he sits in a chair and they strap this like apparatus to his eyes that hold his eyelids open. And then the one guy, they're just showing him footage and like dropping water droplets in his eyes to keep his eyes lubricated. So they're just, and it's like forcing him to watch these videos of like bombings and they play like music and stuff like that. But the whole idea is that they've also given him like a serum or something. So what's happening is they associate what he's seeing on this footage with these sick, crampy feelings in his stomach. So it's like showing naked women and stuff like that and crime happening.
Oh.
And he gets signals. So the whole idea is that like they're conditioning him to get physically ill every time he sees or thinks of violence or rape or whatever. And so what ends up happening is later on in the movie, like he starts getting sick every time. It's like basically an immediate physical response to thoughts, and he tries to kill himself or whatever. And the point of the movie is like a leopard can't change his spots. You know, no matter how much you try to change someone or force change, whatever, you're going to be who you're going to be, you know?
Right.
But anyways, the point is the very iconic scene in that movie, which they reference in The Simpsons and other things, is that they've got him sitting there like with a apparatus that basically goes under the eyelid and holds the eye open so that he can't not watch what they're showing him. And I was just going to suggest something similar for the sex addicts where it like pulls back the foreskin and holds it off. You know, anyone else that joke could have come and gone, they would have got it.
Ah, get it? Come and gone?
To hold the eye open.
It's a sex joke in and of itself. Come and gone. Where'd he go? He came. He just left.
How do you teach someone not to be a sex addict? How do you do it?
I don't know. Normally, I would say just have him get married, and that ought to do it.
Oh.
But in this case,
You don't get laid when you're married. Yeah, that's strange. I would say unattractive people. You make them fuck unattractive people because that's helping two people, right? The one
is
person
helping two
doesn't want to fuck anymore, which is why
Right.
they came there, and the person who wouldn't have got laid otherwise,
that's right. That helps them out tremendously,
right?
especially if it's David Duchovny or Taya
Yeah.
Leone.
And it's like being. I thought about this the other day. It's like being interrogated,
Right.
right? Like if they put him in the room and said "fuck that unattractive man or woman,"
Ah.
and if he was like, no, it's great, I learned my lesson, they're gonna go, no, we don't believe you. It's too early, right? Just like if you were in a espionage scenario where you get captured and the guy wants to torture you to get information out of you,
Right.
there's no way you could just say everything right away and keep yourself from getting tortured because you know that guy wants to torture you at least a little bit. Whatever you say right away, there's no way they're ever going to believe that's what it is,
Right.
right? So
That's
you
right.
gotta at least let them,
You had to poker face your way out of it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. You're gonna get hurt a bit, right? There's no way they're just gonna believe whatever you say. So you're gonna take an ice pick to the balls at least once, right? Maybe a car battery to the nipples.
Right.
You're gonna take some pain. And I'm just saying, in the scenario with the sex addict, at least one unattractive person is gonna get fucked. Because there's no way he can go, you know what? I don't want to fuck them.
That's right.
I'm cured. No, you
not
get in there.
Get in and do
you
it.
do it at least once,
One
right?
time.
And then at least that one person gets a little something.
That's right.
And then that other person gets cured, maybe. Or maybe they just figure out fucking fatties is their thing.
If you don't submit this to the National Sex Addiction Association when we're
How
done
funny
here,
is that? The sex addition, like addition L for fatties? That's their door. Sex addition through that door, sex addiction through that door.
it's all about that fucking C, buddy. Is there a C or not? You're
Yeah.
going through the wrong damn door.
Oh my God. That's fucking hilarious. And very unfair. Poor unattractive people. How dare we insinuate that they might get to fuck a celebrity and help someone in the process, eh?
Yeah.
So selfish of them to be hurt.
But also they're helping, you know? Good on them to help get a beautiful, sex-addicted, famous person off that train by them being so disgusting.
Like I'd let Taya Leone fuck me to help her.
Yeah, well,
To help her, right?
you're a generous guy.
Yeah.
That's a nice thing to do.
And I would
Not everybody would.
I would even do the work, right? Because then she's helping me.
Yeah.
Be on top of her, sweating on her and everything. That you don't think that's
right.
going to scare her straight,
Damn right it is.
right? But then I get to fuck 5 celebrities in a week.
Mm-hmm.
Good cardio.
Solid cardio. You're looking better by the end of that week, and they're
Right?
not having sex with
And my
anybody anymore.
confidence is up,
Oh, way up.
right?
I sweat all over Taya Leone last night.
I'm
on fire today.
I only farted during sex once. She threw up, but I assume that's just from the bulimia.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's
Right?
not your
It's not-
fault.
no.
That was predetermined. She had a meal before she got in there and got sweat on.
I bet people are missing the fact that you don't know movies above this part of the conversation. Right?
I was pretty pumped that we got onto this, so we didn't have to talk about that anymore.
I think I'm funnier when I drink.
Everybody does. And they're all wrong.
Everyone thinks I'm funnier when I drink.
Everyone thinks you're
Josh is funnier when he
they
drinks.
drink.
Oh, I see.
But you specifically.
But me specifically.
There's a 2-drink minimum at a Josh Williams show
Yeah.
before you get there.
Yeah. One's Pepto-Bismol.
And you'll only fart once during sex. You should do an album called I Only Fart Once During Sex.
I don't even know if this is worth writing down as a concept. It's like during sex addiction, what would you do to cure somebody? People watch The Biggest Loser and they're invested in that.
Absolutely.
There's a fruit fly flying on the table that both Jeff and I are fucking.
Yeah, this guy's got some real nut and bag on him. This
Yep.
fucking fruit fly. He's been around the whole time. He literally came in when we started this.
Did he?
He's just been taunting us.
No, I just wasn't paying attention. I'm a professional. So okay, let's get back to the London Tonight thing because
Sure.
that was when I got to see you every week on. You had a website and there was the worst TV show in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Godspeed to the hosts.
Yep.
And then you come along and go, you guys are shitting the bed on this network.
No, you know how I got this?
you?
There was a kid who went to Fanshawe College in London. He was like 18. And for a project, he was taking TV production. And as a project, they had to put together like a television show pitch and what would be needed and whatever. So everybody always chooses like journalism or news, whatever, or like I don't know. There's like a whole list that you can do. Anyway, he chose live talk show and was a big fan of like Jay Leno. And so he wanted to do like a late night talk show. So he put it together. They did it at the school as like a project. And then when he left school, he was like, well, we have Rogers. Why don't I just take what we did here and pitch it to them? So he decided to film a pilot with his own money and cameras or whatever. He had a host, this guy named Tom Ebelwhite. So it was London Tonight with Tom Ebelwhite. And they booked this guy he hosted the amateur nights at Yuck Yucks. His name was Rob. And he came on as their head writer. So he would write bits and stuff. And then they asked him, do you know anyone in the city that we could book as guests on the show? And he, they hooked up with like a radio person and somehow, but he couldn't be there live. So they did like a pre-filmed thing. And then, and then he asked me, would I come on and do like a set on the, set in front of the live audience and then do like an interview with the host. And so I did that. And, it went really, like the host was he was really young. He was 18. He didn't know, much about, like, he'd obviously never hosted anything before. He was a bit of an improviser, but never done stand up or anything like that. So, right. I mean, his monologue was a bit off. He wasn't the most comfortable guy, just obviously being super young and like very inexperienced. So they filmed the pilot and they took it to Rogers and they showed them what they did. And Rogers like loved the idea of a late night show because they already had daytime, but they said, we want the idea, but you can't have him as the host because he's just too inexperienced. We need like a better host. So they somehow, either Rogers or Rob or the kid were like, well, what about this guy, like the guest? And they liked my set that I did on the show. It was like whatever, 5 minutes. And, so they were like, well, yeah, what about him? And so they came to me and said, we're going to do another pilot, but with Rogers this time. They're going to send their crew and their cameras and stuff. And would you come on? So I got hired on as the host. And then we realized it was a shitload of work to actually put one of these together, just on the content side, let alone the production. And so we did the first show.
It was once a week, right? It wasn't every night.
It ended up airing every night, but we taped it once a month.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it just took so long to put one show together, and nobody was being paid for it. So it was like people were working around jobs and working around other stuff, like stand up and.
So Rogers is like a shitty bar show where they're like, "We'll give you a venue."
Yeah, we'll give you the. I mean, they were great in that they gave us all of the crew, because it's all volunteers, right? Like Rogers is run completely by volunteers.
Well, they don't have much money, right? They own sports teams and stuff.
Yeah, no, they're struggling. They had to borrow some money from Bell or whatever. No, but like their local stuff, like the local cable channel, they were okay. I mean, they had ads and stuff like that, but they only paid. I think they only paid like 4 producers, a sales guy, a GM, an executive producer, and then 2 or 3 hosts that were on their shows. Everyone else was a volunteer, all the camera people, a lot of the editors, and it was kids from Fanshawe or people that had been in the workplace that wanted to get into production. So we had like an entirely staffed group of volunteers. We did one pilot. It led to another show. We did like a beginning show with Nazem Kadri right before he left London to go to Toronto. Okay. Right at that time. So he got a lot of buzz in the city. And then the kid that started the show was like, I can't do this anymore. It's too much work. So he left and the show went to me and Lars Classington, a guy named Ez Fidel that was kind of like our he was like more of a producer, but a little bit on camera and writing. And then a guy named Alval was another like writer contributor. So it was like, we turned it into a full-time job. We were there every day. We were writing every day. We were just filming these live things once a month. Because the other thing is, we did all the writing. We did all the like pre-film stuff if we had sketches or whatever. And then we had to fill a 110 seat venue once a month. So we would put all of our stuff into like the content, and then we would try it for like 3 weeks or 4 weeks leading up, or 2 or 3 weeks leading up. We would be hammering people to go get tickets. And then at first they were paid tickets, and then eventually we were like, we just got to give these tickets away. Yeah. And then we made money off ads. So we ended up with sponsors and stuff like that. So we started making a little bit of money, nothing that was full time. But it was called London Tonight. So it couldn't go anywhere. We couldn't take it and then pitch it to a bigger network where they were, they were like, just bring everybody in the show. It would have been maybe us or me as a host or whatever. And then we would have had to change the name of the show. So that's kind of how it ended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching it.
Thank you. We
had a dope ass website for it.
Yeah. We we put a lot of work into it. I mean, the amount of work that the four of us put in, to like myself and Lars were like, we were the ones that really didn't have any other job. Ez had a job and Al went to school. So daytime, it was all us. Nighttime, we would all kind of meet. And I mean, a lot of times it was 6-7 days a week that were day and night. And then, but like, obviously, like none of that feels like work. You're just doing it. But looking back, it's like, holy shit, man, we put hours and hours and hours and hours into that. Yeah, and so we would go to these meetings with sponsors, and we would have these weird meetings with like Rogers, where we would have these content meetings where they would go like, we can give you, I remember them saying like, we can give you one shit, like you can say shit once, because we would we were like nothing else on that network because it was all like, woodworking and like these guys in their basements kind of doing these like weird shows, or it was all about London and these events in London and then daytime. So once we filmed the first like 5 or 6 episodes, which was over the course of 5 or 6 months, they put us on every night. They just cycled through the same shows every night at like 11 or 11:30 at night on the London Rogers. So we ended up getting like a lot of good feedback from people. A lot of people watched. We became one of the most watched independent productions that wasn't a Rogers specific production. So we were averaging like 100,000 views a month. So every day we were on, but in the course of a 30-day month, we would get like 100,000 views or whatever. But just in London, in the London Woodstock, region or whatever.
That's still a wicked accomplishment, dude.
It was great. I mean, yeah, like it was the most fun I've ever had doing something. I was working with friends. We were I mean, we had to write jokes. We had to write monologue. We had to write sketches. We had to book guests. We had to figure out how to get, like, if we had a comic on one month, we would do like a band the next month. If we had a radio person, like a local, we did a lot of like the local London celebrities. There's a couple guys that were in the UFC that were from London. There was like Tucker and Taz were like the #1 show in the radio show in London. Mm-hmm. So we had them on. D. Mindy and Gord were their competitors. So we had them on. There was like everybody that in London that anybody ever knew, we had them on the show. So it was like the cool sort of show to be on in London, which was awesome.
Did you start to get recognized around town from like?
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, it happened a lot. And we started getting booked at events and stuff too, which was cool. So we would go, a lot of it was me and Lars, that would go like kind of co-host, or I would be hosting and I'd bring him out to do some weird like sketch or whatever. And then if we were out, like we worked on that a lot. So a lot of times we would be working till like, I don't know, 11 or midnight or something. And we would just go like grab a drink, just kind of blow off some steam after. And, yeah, a lot of times we would go into places and people would be like, "Hey, London tonight, what's up?"
Oh yeah.
It was pretty cool. Yeah. It was like the whole time in your mind, you're like, this is really cool, but it is only in London. If I drive half an hour down the 401, nobody knows who the hell I am.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was cool. It was a cool feeling and it was such a great, learning experience on even just writing, even just figuring out how to craft a joke by taking a news story that happened in London or around the area and like figuring out how to make it funny, how to craft a joke out of it, where to put it. And then there was a whole selection process. We would sit down, I would read jokes to a group of comics and we would, thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever. So
you did little table reads and things like that.
Yeah.
To see how that goes.
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
I mean, there was like, I would say we easily wrote maybe 50 to 75 jokes for a show. And then we would, whittle those down to like the top 10 and then do those. And the monologue was usually maybe 10 to 12 minutes. And then we would cut that down to like 8 or 9 in editing and stuff like that. And then we would work on like the guest, whoever booked the guest, if they knew, like Ez was big into the MMA scene. So he knew the UFC guys. So he knew like, ask them these questions because they'll know, and then I would learn like about their their whatever.
Learn how to
question is.
basically create an interview.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah. And like I'm curious by nature, so like it was a natural thing to me to have people on and just asking a bunch of questions anyway.
Right.
And then filling in. It was really just filling in the gaps of information. Like he has a fight coming up on August 7th. Make sure you mention the fight. So, talk to him about whatever you want, but mention that fight and then talk about the fight. And, and that's the part where I don't know how to fight. I don't know what the fuck he's training or like, I don't know any of that, but asking and then finding out and then plugging the fight and always plugging was the other thing.
Right.
Cause I can get caught up like going back and forth with somebody. I have 1,000 questions, but then I never plug whatever they were there for.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I said, we plugged your show tonight off the top. That's already gone
right.
2 days ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where can people where are you on next? This is going to come out on Friday.
Yes.
So where can people see you? Because I have listeners all over Ontario or
very
Ontario,
cool.
Canada, and the United States. So
awesome.
There's people everywhere. Where are you next?
Next, so I'm on a tour this week. Well, I guess this weekend doesn't matter. So after this weekend,
This weekend might matter. They're gonna hear it Friday morning.
Friday morning. So yeah, Friday. I forget the name of the town. Small town near Kingston, Battersea.
Okay. So
And,
Kingston listeners might.
Yeah, Kingston area, I guess, because it's outside. Then there's another one at Wolf Island where you have to take a ferry, I guess, over to the island, which is cool. I've only ever done that once, and it was Peely Island. And it was,
okay.
Oh no,
There's
we
a
didn't even take a
winery.
ferry. This guy picked us up in a boat. We parked in Leamington, and then this guy brought a boat over, and we jumped on his boat, and he just like drove us over.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
How do you book these shows?
The Peely Island one, oddly enough, have you ever heard of Betty Wilkins? No, she was I don't know if she still is a comic, but she was this elderly lady, like in her 70s, who just decided to start doing stand up, and she called herself like the filthy grandma or something like that because
Okay.
she would tell like really dirty jokes. She lived in Windsor. Windsor's very close to Leamington, and Peely Island is just across the river from Leamington.
Okay.
So she was the one that booked that. But ordinarily, how I get these is I look for venues in a small town that aren't that don't have any other type of comedy, or usually it'll be like the most they do is maybe karaoke or a band or something along those lines. And I look for those type of venues, and then I'll look at the pictures of
What it looks like inside.
Yeah, to see, okay, could this be set up properly for comedy? Sometimes I'm right. Sometimes I am way, way off. And I'll just like cold call or cold email and just be like, here's what we do. We do, stand-up comedy. I can get you one comedian if you just want me. If your budget's low, I'll get you 2, 3, whatever. So I just I try to look for places in towns where, because I love going to small towns where they're really appreciative that you just came there.
Yeah.
And so right away their energy is big, and they're excited for the show, and it's something they've never. Most of the people that I perform for in these towns are people that have never even seen live stand-up comedy before. So they have no idea. Like they know Netflix, or they know YouTube, or they know famous people, but
Right.
they've never physically been to an actual like live stand-up show. So a lot of times it'll be like, this was great. I've never done this before. I've always thought about going to, Absolute in Kingston because it's an hour away, or I've thought about going to Ottawa or whatever.
Yeah.
But they've never done it, and
Yeah.
now it's like, holy shit,
Well, it's
you're
fine.
at
I'm
my
going to do that
Legion.
for sure.
You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, exactly.
So that's that. You know where that started? I don't know. Like I don't want to. This is how it started. I basically, when I was 18, I sent a tape to Mark Breslin.
Okay.
And he called me and essentially said no. Like, you can't work here.
Yeah.
He said a lot more than that, but the nice answer was no.
Yeah.
And so at the time, I mean, this was 15 years ago, I guess. So I was like crushed, and I was, 18. I'd been doing comedy sort of for 4 years. I'd been doing Yuck Yucks open mics for definitely the 16, 18, and still kind of doing my own shows. And I was like, man, I don't know how to. I want to do comedy, but the guy who's the gatekeeper of comedy just said, like, you basically was saying, he told me stop doing comedy. He basically said,
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Nobody should ever tell anyone stop. They're just going to say, you got to get way better.
Yeah, it was not a phone call that was like, let me give you some advice. It was like, comedy's not for everybody. You should probably stop now. You're young. You can do anything. Just don't do this. That was that's the nicer version of what I heard. But anyway, that's not what the point of the story is.
That's still the nice version.
Yeah. Like it was very, and here's why, is I sent a tape, like a VHS tape, and I called and hounded the office for months before I got this call. So it was essentially a call to say like, please stop
alone.
calling.
Yeah.
But which would have been fine. I would have accepted, please stop bothering me. And no, that's fair. But the way that it was presented,
what happened?
It was just, it was like, Jeff, he goes,
you ever told this story?
yeah. I told it in a motivational talk to kids once. I've told the comics, but I told it in like a motivational thing to kids about people saying no in your life, and just because one person says no doesn't mean that everyone will say no, and it doesn't mean that they're right either. So anyway, it was just a call that was like, Jeff, it's Mark Breslin from Yuck Yucks. I got your tape, and I'm like, yes. And like in my mind, I'm like, yes. And then he goes, I just wanted to call you to let you know that was probably the worst stand-up comedy set I've ever seen in my life.
Wow.
And then I'm like, fuck, how many? This guy's seen every comedian ever. This is the worst. He goes, comedy's not for everybody, and you're still young. You got time to do anything. I would stop now. And no, like, and that was basically it. I think he just kind of hung up the phone, and I was just stunned. I was like, holy shit. Like, it was so quick and so fast. And it wasn't like, hey man, just calling. I just wanted to give you a call. I know
thanks
you're trying to get on the roster.
But,
thank you for this. No, thank you. No. It was just like, you got to stop doing this. You should stop right now. Quit and never do this again. It was terrible. And it was pretty bad. I mean, it, looking back now, it was pretty bad, but I mean worse. I've seen way worse. I have already seen way worse than he has, and he's been around for 40 years. So anyway,
I made him introduce himself to me.
Oh, really?
One time. Well, because the thing is, everyone I'd ever met has said he's got this very Kiss the Ring vibe to him.
Oh yeah,
he's the man in comedy. He makes or breaks careers.
Right.
So when I was nominated for Canadian Comedy Award, we had to go and do a show at Yuck Yucks, which I didn't like because I wasn't associated with Yuck Yucks at the time.
Right.
And because of the way that the industry is, like, with you sign with Yucks and now you belong to them, I didn't like the idea that I was going to be seen on their stage and thus potentially seen as a Yucks comic.
Right.
So I remember I was sitting in the back of the room and Breslin came in and he was, everyone's like, oh, hey, Mark, everything like that. And he came up to me and he's like, and he goes, hello. And I go, hi, how are you? And he goes, very good, thank you. What's your name? I'm like, Josh Williams. And you are? And he's like, Mark Breslin. I go, oh, very nice, Mark, to meet you, Mark. I go, are you a comedian as well? And he's like, I'm the owner. And I go, oh, very nice to meet you. Well, thank you for having me. Like I knew who he was.
Of course.
I knew exactly who he was.
Of course you did.
But that's my, and I don't think that's rude of me. I'm being mildly manipulative.
It's great.
But I think that some of these guys who think that everyone should just know who they are.
Right.
Every now and again, just to remind them that you're not a walking legend.
Right.
You're just, and I loved the look on his face too.
Oh yeah.
That maybe a comic in Canada didn't know who he was.
Yeah. That's worth everything. That look is worth.
And because here's the thing, I know he used to do comedy, and I know he, like many, many, many people in the
industry.
Thank you. Sorry, text message came in, completely derailed my brain.
Oh, is that?
It's an Apple Watch, but I'm doing
gotcha.
okay. I just I don't know what the fuck I was gonna say.
I don't know either, but that was hilarious.
Breslin. Everyone in the industry knows. It's gone. But I assure you, it would have been funny. I guess I wasn't trying to like be a dick to him, but it was just more or less like.
No, but in this, it's like a humble pie for a sec that he. Probably
everyone might know who you are and kiss your ass or whatever, but it's like, you're not to be on it. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. The fact that every comic and everyone in the industry, right? Like when you kill in a show, you get 200 people in a room.
Yeah.
And you're just demolishing, but there's that one person there with their arms crossed.
Oh yeah, we all.
That's the one that's the one you leave and you take home with you in your head and like, what was his
Lost
problem?
sleep
Why did
because
that
of
guy
that
hate
guy.
me so much?
Yeah.
Right? And I'm just saying, I know that as much as everyone's like, oh, hi, Mark, how are you? Blah, 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 all this stuff. That one guy who's like, oh, I'm sorry, who are you? Do you do
Right.
comedy or what are you?
Right.
I know that's what he's leaving with. That one fat cocksucker who just sat there, didn't know who I was.
Totally. Yeah, man.
Like, you know what? We got paid $25 for that show. Canadian Comedy Award nominees for Best Stand-Up Newcomers, $25 each for the set. Thanks for the fucking $20 a head show. You dancing.
Sorry, who are you? Are you the guy paying me $25? Is that who you are?
I'm the owner. Oh.
Oh wow.
Well, now having
Things
seen
not
you,
going
I'm
very
sure.
well? It's
I
$25.
see how much your suits don't fit. No wonder you don't have the money. You don't have the money to tailor your suits. Of course you can't afford to pay us. That's rude. Whatever. I'm pretty sure Breslin doesn't listen to my podcast, so.
If he does, not anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I've lost
This
a
will end
listener.
that for sure. But yeah, so after that phone call, I was like, I was about to take his advice. Really, I was like,
Really?
Well, I'm 18. This is the man who just said no.
A man 12 inches shorter than me just told me.
Yeah,
to fucking
right. And so I was just like, I'm done. And I like told my mom and she was like, but why? Like, what does that mean? And I'm like, oh, he just said I can't do comedy. And she's like, didn't he just say you can't do comedy there? And I said, yeah. And she's like, so go do comedy somewhere else. Like,
Yeah.
he's not telling you can't do comedy. How can he?
he doesn't own comedy as much as
Right.
you might think he does.
Right. And I'm like, yeah, but these are all the places to do it. Right. And at the time, I mean, I don't even think there was in Ontario, certainly, I think it was the only thing, maybe the Laugh Resort in Toronto or something. I think it was the only thing. And so I was like, obviously, if I can't work for him, I can't work. And she's like, what about like a bar or like all these other venues? And I just started like formulating that in my head. And a few months later, I was graduating high school. And so I sent out letters, not handwritten, but like typed out letters to bars all over Ontario, like everywhere that I could find. I think there was 112 bars that I found. So I sent them out by mail, by actual like physical
Stamped mail
to 100 and I think it was 112. I booked 11 shows over a summer, which was started late June, July, and August, and usually like weekends, Fridays or Saturdays, whatever. My own tour, my own show, and that was it. I was like, oh, okay, well then this is how I'll do comedy. So I started that summer, and then
I just went to scratch my ear and whack the fucking mic. Sorry, everybody.
the look on your face was priceless, though.
I think it's the
That
first.
teeter, like what as the mic's teetering, you're like, oh, God.
Like, oh, this is loud.
Yeah. So once I booked those 11 shows, that was it for me. I was like, okay, well then this is going to be how I do comedy. So I just started, and that's what led me to the like smaller towns. And it was the greatest. It was just me too. I didn't really have openers. It was just literally me for as long as I could talk. I think they all paid me $100, and it was like probably the most I had made in my life as a
Especially
kid.
for the amount of workload.
Yeah.
When you're a kid, you're working like your ass off in a dish pit or at a fucking fast food joint. You're
Right.
busting your ass for nothing.
Right.
And then you can show up for an hour, talk about your dick, and here's $100 and a
Yeah.
drink. And you're like, wow.
And I realized like that, and I was like, okay, well, why don't I just put my time into booking shows then? If I'm going to, everybody seems to have a job. Like that's what I'm seeing around me is guys getting jobs or going to school, and I don't want to do either one of those things.
I hear you.
I can't go to school because my grades are not good enough, and there's nothing I want to take. I don't want to work anywhere. So if I just spend my time booking shows, then certainly if I'm getting 11 from this way, then I could probably book them for however long. So I just started doing that and then went from there.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So where's the next place that people can see you? Maybe bigger city. Drive some traffic. You're like, I'm gonna be on Wolf Island. Fucking
Yeah.
Jim Bob's picking me up in his boat.
Yeah, I'm in Port Colborne, Ontario, which is like the Niagara region. Very nice area. Don Cherry's on August 18th.
Ooh.
And then August 25th in Windsor at the City Grill Event Center.
Ooh.
Then in September, I'm opening for Mick Foley.
Yep.
He's doing like I think he's probably coming here too, right?
Oh.
I think so. To Ottawa. Oh, maybe not Ottawa, but maybe. I know he's coming to Kingston, so that's what made me think of Ottawa. But anyway, yeah. So there and
Where are you opening for Mick Foley again? Sorry.
Oh, in London. Sorry, London Music Hall.
Okay,
in
cool.
My hometown. It's like the bookers of the tour reached out, and so I was like, yeah, I hooked him up with the Music Hall, which is like the best venue in London, and yeah, so that'll be fun. And I'm a huge wrestling fan, so that one.
No, that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I've got a lot of friends, like I said, listeners of the podcast who've been like, we need you to come out to the London. I'm like, okay. So London Music Hall, a big venue, I assume though, probably be very
It's
difficult
massive.
to fill.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
well,
like
fuck that.
700 seated. I think 1,100 for like music shows and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
But I will say this: they have Rum Runners, which is a smaller venue. So
okay.
so it's
I
like,
thought you meant like in the in the hall. There's people who will run your rum to you.
oh no, there's that
like,
too.
Like they're servers. They call them rum runners.
Yeah, these are not servers; they're rum runners. Excuse me. You run, get some rum.
So they call them on Wolf Island or whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
Where's the fucking rum runners? Little cocksuckers. Spry fellas. They got the job.
Little hands.
Yeah.
They got those little hands, so they can really
Shot
carry that
glasses
rum.
through the
Yeah,
fingers.
here you go. Are you my rum runner for the evening? Yes, I am. Yeah. So but they have the music hall is like 3 venues in one. So they have the big hall for the main shows, and then like Rum Runners, I think is maybe 100 and something seats.
Okay.
So if you are doing London and you're looking to do a venue, Rum Runners is great.
Okay,
for
I'll
something
probably
like
reach out to you too because you'd be a
Please.
big resource as to like where I should promote and.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Definitely, man. I mean, London's a really good city, but there's certain times of the year where people don't go see events, and then there's like once the fall kind of begins, it's like event. London becomes like about patios. I guess everywhere's like that kind of in the summer, but London's very big on patios in the summer.
Well, that's cool. Well, I definitely suggest all my friends come, especially my London people, go see Jeff.
Please do.
Yeah.
Please come
When was
see
it
me.
in London again?
Bring DVDs.
September
for me to
what?
watch. September 7th.
September
is the
7th.
Mick Foley show.
That's my
Yeah.
brother's birthday, so it's easy.
Is it
for me to
really?
remember. Yeah, it'll be easy for me to remember.
There we go.
It's
September 7th.
September 7th in London, opening for Mick Foley, who is Mankind, Dude Love, and a bunch of other things
Cactus
from wrestling.
Jack.
Cactus Jack. That's the one. I knew there
Jack
was
Foley
3.
as well.
Nah, I don't know that one. That's not a thing.
That was his original name in WWE when he had his first tryout ever.
That's lame.
Yep.
You should watch more movies, assface. By the way, I won't.
That particular piece of knowledge was from a documentary called Beyond the Mat. So.
I've seen Beyond the Mat. I don't remember Jack.
You don't remember Jack Foley?
No.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You know what? I'm lying. It's not even in that. It's from the Faces of Foley. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, well, that
Yeah.
I didn't see.
Yeah, well.
But-
hey, you know what, Josh? Why don't you start watching some more wrestling documentaries?
No.
You'll get some of these
And I still had
references.
like 95% of the info. I didn't know his first name, his early works. But
His dad's name. His
I
dad's
can't
name
even
was
tell
Jack.
people to bring you DVDs because you just said how like some director prodigy handed you a bag full of amazing, and you're like, no, I haven't looked at it once.
Doesn't mean I'm not gonna.
Yeah, it does.
Maybe.
That was like 20 years ago. Well, dude, I really appreciate you. Where can people find you on social media?
Facebook is where I do. Okay. What are you, are you on everything? You on Instagram,
I don't
Twitter?
like it.
all-
Yeah, I don't do anything with them.
Okay. Because I have an Instagram that's connected to my Facebook that I
Okay.
never use, but I somehow have 500 people that are looking at what I'm doing. I guess it just goes like wherever you post certain
You can,
things,
yeah,
it'll
you
go
can
there.
set it up so that when you post, want to post it. So
Somehow I've set that up. So Instagram, I don't even know the name of it, but Jeff Leeson comedy on Facebook is like the main thing that I use. That's the fan page.
well, follow my buddy Jeff Leeson on Facebook, and you can see where we're just coming on.
JeffLeasonComedy.com has a tour dates.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
JeffLeasonComedy.com.
Yeah.
Dude, thanks so much for sitting down and shooting
you.
this shit with me, buddy. It's always a pleasure.
Thanks, man.
I'm sorry you're only in town for one night.
Me too.